Greetings all. Let me screen share. Hope you're all doing well in the chat. I'm going to screen share a couple of things. First, I'm going to paste a oops. Oh my. Looks like it was already muted. That was handy, if so. No, it wasn't. Okay. I'm going to screen share something I'm going to share in the chat. Watch it at your leisure. It's almost 5 hours long. A bit like one of my Hangouts. Where am I? Here. And then we're going to try to, it's quite handy actually. When somebody doesn't understand something and you explain it to them, it's good because whilst you're explaining it to them, you're also explaining it to other people. So we're going to use QMFI for explaining. First, I'm going to share this in the chat, which is a cracking documentary. Within the first hour, you'll see, and I thank Phil for this. You'll hear about a little discussion between scientists on beams and how Earth curvature dictates impossible, but reality says, no, actually really possible, and you better deal with it. So it's in the chat. If you can't see the chat, then that's the name of the documentary. Just there. It's The Secret War. Okay? Now I'm going to close this, and I will continue watching it later. Before I go into QMFI, I'm going to go through a couple of things. First, the definition of analogous. It's an adjective. It describes something, which would be something that is comparable in certain respects, typically in a way which makes clearer the nature of the things compared. So, for instance, receiving signals from Wi-Fi routers versus receiving signals from the sun. If every individual has a Wi-Fi router, if every individual receives signals from the sun, and you try to model those routers, well, you're going to end up modeling, well, a great big arc across the sky. Did you hear, QMFI? Now, what you're seeing here, I'm going to make sure the volume is down, make sure that I'm streaming, that nothing's being interrupted. Good. What you're seeing here is the reflection of the sun. That's the reflection of the sun. Now the camera is going to turn and look at the sun. Now, I want you to imagine that you're here and there's glass there. Okay, it's not just an open window, there's glass. And you stand where you're standing and you point your finger, in fact, you place your finger on the glass right in the center of that sun. Right now, imagine doing that. Imagine that you can imagine, okay, QMFI? So imagine that you can put your finger in the middle of the sun right there. Okay, now the person with the camera is moving to there. Now he is going to place the middle of his finger in the middle of that sun. You'll see that you're not pointing at the same place. You're not. Because apart from anything else, that's not actually the sun. That's a skylight called the coelux. Okay? It's a lamp called the coelux that mimics the sun. You could do this in the real world with a real sun and a pane of glass and see the same thing. It really mimics the sun, including that motion that you just saw, which is described as parallax. That's parallax. You might not have understood what parallax meant before, but this is what it means. It means objects at a distance appear to move with you, whilst things closer to you appear to move in the opposite direction to that of the distant object. So, for instance, if I rewind a little bit, and you imagine that there were bars across this window, okay? So let me pause. Okay, you place your finger and there are bars across the window. But as the viewer moves to the left, the sun appears to move to the left with the viewer, whilst the bars appear to scroll to the right. That's parallax in very simple terms. Now, we'll get back to this, which is his discussion. Before we get to this, which is a bit, it would be a stretch for you to understand, QMV. In fact, most of what I'm saying will be a stretch for you to understand. Here we have a rainbow in the real world. This is not CGI. This is not mainstream media or mainstream science. This is a guy in a car traveling on a motorway. The motorway is the M20 in Britain. Now, as he travels, you'll notice, if you follow this white line, that he's going to travel in a curve while looking at the rainbow. Now, I want you to engage again with your imagination and imagine that this car is stopped. This car is stopped. And we will pick up again from a car, which is really this one, after it has gone through under the bridge. Okay, so watch. Oops, I'll turn the audio off. Now here comes the bridge. Notice the arc. See how the road keeps turning? Okay, well, the guy back there before the bridge was pointing at the rainbow. Now this guy is the same guy, we understand, we're just splitting time, okay? This guy is pointing at the rainbow. But you'll note that, like with the sun, they're not pointing at the same space, in the same direction. They're pointing in a generally similar direction. In fact, the way they're pointing is in a slightly convergent way. The rays from the sun, just like from rainbows, the apparition of rainbows, is slightly convergent when looking towards. When looking away, slightly divergent. Now, let me go through that again so you understand. Here's the fella before going through the bridge. And there's the sun, the rainbow. And he's going to point at the rainbow here. He's going to shoot a laser straight to the rainbow there. Now we're going to compare with the guy that's round the corner. And he's going to point a laser to the rainbow. Okay, we'll say from here. Now he's going to point to the rainbow. Those beams of those two fellas are going to appear to converge at some point. The point is debatable. They might even not converge. It's difficult to say because this guy's gone round the corner. His camera has shifted slightly to the left, hence the rainbow's gone to the right, but he has gone round the corner too. It's very difficult to say. I posit that they converge, the beams, but who knows, okay? You'd have to do lots of study, and they're kind of unpredictable, rainbows. But with the sun, it's not so unpredictable. Okay, let me see. Did I close it? I think I might have closed it. Never mind. With the sun, it's a lot more predictable. You can study it much better. And if you do like sun tracking sessions, you can study it from around Earth. Now, we're going to close this and understand they're not pointing at the same space in the sky. Their lasers aren't pointing and meeting at the rainbow. Whether they converge or are parallel is moot, but they're certainly not converging at the rainbow, and then after that convergence point they veer away, they diverge, and where they meet is where the rainbow is, because the rainbow isn't actually there. It doesn't have a location in space. Do you hear, QMV? The rainbow doesn't have an actual location in space. You cannot model it. You cannot pinpoint it. Now we'll close this one and show this one. Just to let you understand, QMV, how little you understand light. Here's a rainbow. This is not CGI. This is a rainbow, and it appears to be reflected in the water, of course. Except what you're seeing in the water is not really a reflection of the rainbow. How can you determine this? Well, you can do this. You can notice that the horizon is not in the center of the rainbow, but slightly higher than the horizontal center of the rainbow. That the actual center of the rainbow is around here. But better than that, you can move the screen to the edge and notice that when the red touches the edge of the frame, which is here, the equal above is not red. In other words, the circle continues. Do you understand? It is not a reflection of the rainbow. It's simply the rainbow manifesting itself on water, just like the sun does. Now, if you were to reflect this rainbow, you would have a rainbow that is just slightly off circular because you're reflecting less than half a circle. But if you look here, you see this region here is where the red is touching the edge of the frame. Above that is where there would have to be red in the sky in order to be reflecting there. You might argue, if you're a realist painter, that it could be a little bit below that because reflections are slightly more elongated than the objects they're reflecting. But there's no red here to be reflected here. It is not red from here that is reflected here because that's not how angles work. What's happening is the thing that manifests itself as a rainbow, when over water, continues to manifest what light is. Now I'll close that. And we'll go into the poor guy not understanding what an analogy is. The meaning of the term analogous. Not understanding that you cannot model. Let me make sure everything's going out fine. You cannot model time. When you try to model the sun, it's the equivalent to trying to model time. You cannot model time. Just like you cannot model consciousness. You can trick yourself into thinking that you can by drawing a little human being and putting little waves of expansion around him as if, or her, as if that was consciousness, but that's not consciousness. That's a ludicrous infantile drawing. So, QNFI, when you try to model the sun, which is not a tangible object over your not very well thought out critiques, you're not modeling the sun. You're modeling a retarded person's understanding, which is none. So let's listen to your critique.
So you think you're smart?
Oops. Oh, apologies for the scrolling window. I think I might have to refresh. I will refresh. Sorry, I meant. He starts off, so you think you are smart. That has no bearing on the matter, but I happen to be much smarter than you, dude. That's why I'm not modeling an infantile sun over a flat earth map. Quod erat demonstrandum.
So you think you're smart?
I am. I just happen to be. It doesn't mean anything other than I am. Just like you are Dutch and I am Spanish or Catalan. It means nothing more than that. That's going to lift my spirits.
Hold on. Maybe you're smarter for them, but not for me.
Sidetracking into chats and things like that is a bit of a red herring. Why would you do that, QMFI? Deal with the problem at hand. Don't concern yourself with what people are saying in my chat or in your chat regarding smartness or anything like that. Okay? Just Look at the question at hand and deal with it.
For me, stupid shit. Here, fucking asshole.
It's just pasted, as you see, a thing on the screen. First, that's the wrong color eye. My eyes are green. Okay, you might notice by the fact that my eyes are freaking green. But maybe you're a bit colorblind. Hey, you know, it happens. What you've just done, QMV, is retarded. You have just pressed onto your screen a thing that you took some time to either draw or print out and cut out. That's retarded, man. That's it. Look, if you did it, if you went to the toilet and took some of your fecal matter and you did it on the screen, that might show you or those around you how broken you are. It's just, well, you know, just so happens to be this, but and not fecal matter. But you understand me, don't you?
Shit.
He just said, so the sun is taking a more outside track, you mean?
Yeah, you were telling us that sun or that thing.
That sun or the thing, I'm trying to go out of my way to explain the difference between the thing that people refer to as the sun, stupid people like you, and the field in which the sun manifests itself. If you just say, and the thing, as if I'm not trying to stipulate, then you're very stupid. So your question, do I think I'm smart? I might be retarded, but I'm superluminously more intelligent than you.
Take inside and outside parts. It travels over the Tropic of Capricorn.
No, I have not said any of those things. Stop lying to your public.
Tropic of Cancer, according to you.
No, not according to me. Stop lying to your public. The sun is not a tangible object. I've explained this several times.
Yeah, but I have to draw up something.
No, QMV. You do not have to draw something, because what you're trying to draw is synonymous with time. Literally synonymous with time. You're trying to draw time, and you can't. This is why the half-wit Geronism and Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, who've made this time app, are retarded, and it's not going to work because you can't model time. The most you can check a rainbow. It sends itself in various different locations to different people, depending on where those people are within that field, just like a rainbow. If you go to the other side of the rainbow and look back, you don't see the rainbow from the other side, you stupid person.
Model this sun up. You cry.
You don't have to model it, QMV. You don't have to model it. There's nobody making you model it. So let's listen to him complaining that he doesn't know what to do other than model it. Explained this several times.
Yeah, but I have to draw up something.
See, you don't.
Model this sun up.
You don't have to model the sun up, you silly.
You cry about this all the time.
Oh, he models something he doesn't know how to model. I critique his modeling of it because it's unmodelable, and he complains that he has to model it. Like, you don't, QMV, you don't have to model it. You could look at the real world instead.
But you have another idea.
Yes.
How to draw this up on a model.
No. Let's hear again.
Time. But you have another idea. how to draw this up on a model. Call it what you like.
What's wrong with this? How do people's brains do this? How do they think, oh, okay, so I can't model it, but I'm going to model it, but you have a different way of modeling it. Even though you go out of your way to say it's not modelable and you can't model it, it can't be modeled. The most you can model is the orientations to it. But he tells his viewers that I say I can model it a different way. Like, no.
Son, I never claimed it's a solid object or round or sphere.
Then why do you model it like a solid object, which is round and spherical?
I just put it here because it comes closest to what we see.
No, it doesn't come closest to what we see. You see, at the same time that you will see the sun at solar noon from Holland, there are people in Spain seeing the sun. There are people in India seeing the sun. You see, that this is why you can't model it.
In the sky.
Now, QMFI, remember when I showed you that lamp and the sun? And I said, you can do this in the real world. Like in the real world, you and your wife could have your window and have your wife pointing straight at the sun, and you look at where she's pointing from right over her right shoulder. If she's pointing with her right hand, right in the middle of the sun, and you look, and it will look like a bit off for you because your eye can't take the same space in time as her eye, okay? But then you go over to another side and you point on the same window, and then you look at where you're pointing and you look at where she's pointing, you see that she's not pointing at where you're pointing. Do you understand? It's very simple.
It's the closest to what we can observe.
No, it isn't. The closest to what we can observe are simply lines of direction, not an object at the end of those lines. Those lines, number one, do not converge at some point in the sky. They'll converge, they'll appear to converge or converge towards each other, but you don't know if they cross over vertically and never actually meet. You have no idea. But the point is, you can't model it. You can model the directions. Absolutely, you can model the directions. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Prove my map right.
I don't have another sun in this model. I don't.
He's complaining about the sun that he downloaded now.
Oh, that is sun. So arrange me another one you like, and I put.
Okay, here I'll arrange you another one. How about you model only azimuth and elevation? You can figure out a way of modeling elevation. So model azimuth and elevation.
Get in, piece of shit.
The sun is a holoprismatic effect that you experience within the field that presents the sun. From outside of that field, you would not see the sun. You can only see it if you're within the field of influence of the sun. Imagine we're talking about a rainbow. You can only see the rainbow if you're within the field of influence of that rainbow. You can be on the other side of the apparent location of the rainbow, which doesn't actually have a space in a location in space. You can be on the other side looking back. So here's A and B. A can see the rainbow, and B is on an island across, and B is looking towards A, and they wave at each other because there's no curvature. They wave at each other. Hey, there you are. Can you see the rainbow? No, says B. A can see the rainbow. In fact, B is just under the rainbow. But B can't see the rainbow. Why not? Because he's outside of the field. Can it present itself? In the morning,
I try to understand it. I have to listen it a couple of times.
Okay, that's not fine. That's not my problem or my fault, dude. Just follow along and don't pretend that I'm saying something different to what I'm saying. sunrise, when we're entering into that field, we have light, but we have no sun. It's only at sunrise that we have sun. It's the same as being able to hear something versus not being able to hear something because you're too far away.
Ah, so when I'm too far away from the sun, I'm not in its field.
No, when you're too far away so that you're no longer in the field. When you're too far away from the field, you're no longer in the field. Do you understand? Not from the sun. You have this moronic idea. It's like a parasite in your brain that the sun is a thing you can triangulate somehow, even though you know you can't triangulate it. I keep explaining to you why you can't triangulate it, but you keep saying, but if I model the sun like this, then, well, stop modeling the sun like that. Model instead the field.
Maybe I still don't understand it. Maybe I have to listen to some more.
Here's the comment. By the way, so the guy who passed me this, he's trying to explain to QMV that he doesn't understand, okay? And in his explanation, well, by the way, his comments deleted, okay? Just completely deleted. In his explanation, he makes a really good analogy. So I'm going to read it out. Man, you clearly don't understand what is a field. Antonio clearly said that the sun is manifestation within the field. For example, you can have two Wi-Fi routers spread across the distance of 200 meters. Compare router with a sun. Compare thing that emits a field with thing that receives a field. And you are standing, sorry, I'm having to scroll left and right, near one of them, and your friend is standing nearby the other router. You both can touch your routers. It's so close. You take your mobile and want to connect to your router, and you will have 5 bars, and your mobile will say, the connection is excellent. So that would be you and the sun and sun and moon. Now try to connect to the other router and there is no connection. And your friend cannot connect to your router. In this, so you're seeing your sun and the other person is seeing their sun. The router would be the thing that's sending the waves or the filaments, that's the point of convergence where the incident radiation creates the white that we see as the sun, which used to be yellow. That would be the router and your phone. Side subject. I've watched a couple of science people discussing the sun and going out of the way to say that it's yellow. You know that yellow thing in the... It's not yellow, and we can all see that it is not yellow in our sky. And they're actually going out of the way to say that which is yellow in our sky. It's like, no, it isn't. Will be your eyes.
Maybe I understand now. Or not?
Not.
It's just the farther away you are from the field.
Yes.
The less of it lights you see.
Yes.
If I'm correct.
Yes.
I cannot visualize it. Maybe I have...
That's your problem. You cannot visualize time. You can't visualize two people in a different location, both being able to see the rainbow, but the rainbow not being a shared point from their indexical points of view. You can't visualize that. Some things you just can't visualize. The Globelings got round this by making a physical object of the Earth that physically rotates. That's how they got around it, because they couldn't understand it otherwise. Remember, they didn't even understand magnetism very well or electricity. They knew about magnetism, but they didn't know about electricity. They did not know about electricity. They had candles. They didn't even have flushing toilets, for goodness sakes.
Model it up.
Oh, here he goes again, modeling up things. He just said he can't visualize it, but let's model it up anyway. You can't if you can't visualize it, dim dim.
Here, those two guys and this thing, what do we call the sun?
The sun that you have again modeled as an object that has a location in space. That is a tangible thing. It does not have a location in space.
But I will change it into a router.
Wow, why don't you compound your misinterpretation further? Just carry on. Hey, here's a thought. Why don't you place all of the suns that are visible from all of the different locations, and once you've done that, okay, that would be, why don't you draw the azimuths to the sun at any point in time from all the different locations that have reception of the sun, and then translate all of those suns into tiny, tiny routers. Why don't you do that? That will work better than what you're doing now.
Yeah, this is logic. This guy is in the...
This is not logic. This is a retarded placing something tangible where something intangible isn't. Like the intangible thing isn't there. Well, you're going to say that it is and place it with a tangible object. That's retarded.
Field of the router. He can connect to the Wi-Fi.
That's right.
By the way, which is a stupid Dutch invention.
Great.
So, this guy cannot connect, okay.
That's right.
It's pretty shitty.
Here to here, 5,000 miles. Okay, from here to here, straight line, 5,000 miles. You then use that, okay? You can plot the China-Europe block train. You can plot the distances, sailing or flying.
Okay, let's do that. 5,000 miles, you say?
Oh, QMV, where are you going to measure to? Are you going to measure to the rainbow? Is that what you're going to do? If I say to you, here's a rainbow, do something with it. Are you going to measure to the rainbow? Because you're doing the same with the sun. You can't measure to the sun.
From here to...
That's why degrees were created, by the way, because you can't measure to the sun, but the sun appears to scroll across the sky. How can you keep track of where it scrolls across the sky? In a city, you might use landmarks from the same point of view. So from the same observation point, you might say, well, there's such a street and there's such a building and there's such a mountain. And you can use that for your azimuth, but that means that you're restrained to that one location. What if you want to go to a different location and compare? You need something by which to establish this. So you have the protractor. First, they had the scapher in Greece. It was the Babylonians that had the protractor, and the Greeks didn't get it until after Eratosthenes died. So that's why degrees were invented. And what degrees measure is movement over time. It's not the actual movement, because they don't know if the sun is moving or if the earth is moving or something's moving, don't know what. But it's moving over what? Over a period of time. That's why degrees are broken down into arc minutes. It's time they're measuring. Motion over time. Motion of a thing we don't know its location over a period of time. Yeah, it's going to model the
so
distance.
This is 5,000 miles.
Wow.
On the ruler, I will magnify a little bit. From South Africa to here, you say that's 5,000 miles.
From here, sorry, from the bottom of Cape Town, just here, to here. But never mind.
So the rest of this ruler will also be 5,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's logic. You can check that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
From 0 to 5.
Not really. If you make this more square, you'll find that it's coming closer to 5.5 the way you have it. But never mind. We'll play along.
This is 10,000 miles. So, in the summer, when this router sits on the Tropic of Cancer,
the router doesn't sit on the Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer is simply the point under the highest influence of that field. And it's reflected by, well, the highest point for the sun. That's how that goes.
My friend here in Cape Horn can still connect to the router.
Wow.
Which is 6,000 kilometers, 6,000 miles, according to your model. But your friend here in the UK is closer to your router and cannot connect.
Let's play along with this, QMV. The difference between the guy in Ushuaia, or Cape Horn, as you call it, and the guy in Britain is that the sun will be higher in the sky because the guy in Britain is deeper in the field than for the guy in Cape Horn. But that does not mean they're triangulating to a point in the sky. Understand this.
A little over 5,000. So that's like 900 miles closer.
And surprise, surprise, the guy that's closer has the sun higher in his sky. Wow, that's bizarre. He's trying to explain to QMV that he doesn't understand.
And this is why I deleted your retarded friend.
I banned the mental sick retard router moron. Instead of trying to understand what the mental sick retard was explaining, no, it's easier, in order to not understand, if you label the person who's trying to explain it to you as a mental sick retard, instead of understanding that it's you that's mental sick retard, and the other person is trying to explain to you in ways that he thinks you might be able to understand, because you obviously don't understand in the way that I have been explaining it. So he tries a different way for you to try to understand.
Command, because I don't want my viewers to have their heads filled with garbage.
If you don't want your viewers to have their heads filled with garbage, then stop telling them that I say things that I don't say. In fact, telling say things that are the opposite. For instance, over the equator at any point. I don't say that. I haven't said that. But you tell people that I say that. It's like, no, I don't say that. So you stop telling your people, your viewers, stuff that's going to mess with their brains, because your viewers can come and see what I actually say. And sooner or later, they're all going to see that you're full of shit, that you keep misrepresenting things. In fact, I can point out right now that you have 306 views. By the time I stop this upload, this hangout, there will be more than 300 of views. And you have 9,000, almost 10,000 subscribers, and I have just over 2,000. So your viewers are seeing, they're seeing what you're doing, then they're coming here, they're seeing what I'm actually saying, and some of them are more discerning than you give them credit to, and they go, well, QM's full of shit.
Did I make you a trip of your own words? And you're here? You're all retarded, imbeciles. Your viewers and your friend, Shales, are a piece of shit.
Oh, okay.
This Herman Walker on my channel. And my friend Al Jordan already said he was a little bit trollish, but this guy made sneaky comments. You know, I have children.
Sneaky comments? Okay. Saying a comment in the chat that's public and everyone can see it, it's not exactly what you described to as sneaky.
But you can, they cannot watch your videos because you're doing a name calling. And then I answered to L. Jordan here, yes, he's one of the sneaky trolls. And then this Herman Walker ran to Antonio's live hangout, and look what he said to Antonio. Antonio Subirats, did you see my comment where I said QNFE called me a clever troll?
Yes. You see, your sneaky, which doesn't actually apply because it's open and available for everyone, doesn't count as sneaky. It would count as, say, cunning. Cunning is what you might want to say. And cunning is also synonymous for clever. Do you understand? But let's continue.
This is the grade, the low grade of IQ and trolling and shilling.
Oh.
I never say clever. I say sneaky.
Oh, wait, let's see.
Trolls.
Oh, right. No, not sneaky in, no. Just sneaky in a nonsense sneaky. Yeah. God.
Fucking retard. I will do it again.
He will compound his mistake further, just over and over. This guy doesn't understand the term confirmation bias. He genuinely does not understand that term. He doesn't. It's a simple term. It took me a long time, by the way, to understand that I had been mistaken in my considerations of the sun. This is how I came to understand why the Gleason's is wrong, how it's wrong, and how the longitudes actually work. It was by first accepting the mistake. The sun does not triangulate. It was thanks to observers in Australia, simultaneous observers in Australia, and an observer in Murmansk. All three of them live giving, it was in the summer, giving a reading of the sun from their locations. It was this that showed, the sun is not a triangulable thing. But QMFE is too retarded to let go of his misunderstandings. He thinks, well, I don't understand it, but this is what it is. It's like, no, this is what it is some parasitic idea that you haven't understood is a parasitic idea. If you did, you'd get rid of it.
Without those Muppets and Router. From this point to this point, So now I'm gonna measure from here.
What are you measuring, QNF? The distance to what?
Until the Tropic of Cancer. That is like 6,200 or 300 miles.
Great. Does that mean that the sun is 3,200 miles away from the observer? Or does that mean that that's where the Tropic of Cancer is?
In the neighborhood. Now let's measure from the UK. Let's take the center. I can take the top of UK also. It's like 5,400 miles.
Right. And?
So your route is shit.
By the way, that's not the Tropic of Cancer. He's using an old map. But never mind.
Distance to it totally make no sense.
Hey QMFI, how about you use the maps that I've published recently instead of maps that I discarded? How about you stop being dishonest to your viewers? How about you do that?
You're just a retard, imbecile.
By the way, you might want to look up the psychological term projection. Where the incident radiation creates the whites that we see as the sun, which used to be yellow. That will be the router, and your phone will be your eyes.
So Antonio, let's do this again.
Yes, let's.
So you admit that seeing stars at night was impossible?
No, I have admitted no such thing, you lying, dishonest, broken person. In fact, I went on to read the remainder of his comment, which he put in the chat, which was, and despite not being able to reach the Wi-Fi, you can still reach FM, which would be the stars. It's a different frequency. I then went on to explain radio telescopes and how they are picking up different frequencies depending on whether they're pointing at a very dark area of the sky, which have all of the areas have stars, or whether they're pointing at a bright area of the sky, which would be, say, a star or a planet. So stop telling your people things like what you just said, that I acknowledge that it's impossible. That we see as the sun, which used to be yellow. That will be the router, and your phone will be your eyes.
So Antonio, let's do this again.
Yes. No, I don't. I'm based on observations of, wait for it, this place, not observations of erroneous models.
That seeing stars at night was impossible.
What? How does his brain let him say this? I mean, is this guy just a straightforward imbecile? Or, I mean, how does his brain let him say these things? So you admit that it's impossible to see stars at night? No. What kind of retarded person would say that? Oh, wait, QMFI says that.
On any model, you agreed.
I did not agree. Oh my God. Let's get to the end of this. Wow. I agreed that it's impossible. No.
So I put this on your map. I don't took the time to make this dark, but this is night.
But you took the time to go and collect one of my oldest maps to do this. Not the one you have over there on the corner. No, not that one, not the new one. No. You thought you'd use this one. Oh, that's interesting.
Here. And you and me standing here.
Why is your hand touching my buttock? Okay, that's just wrong. What are you trying to grab there? Okay, because this is you in Holland and this is me in England. What are you trying to grab? Huh? You strange person.
Stars. And I replaced that sun for a router. Maybe.
Oh, and you located it in space. Just like the sun doesn't happen. Huh. You've placed a field here. And you've placed a different field here. And in this field, you can see the stars. And in this field, you can't. Apart from the very fringes at dawn and dusk, where you can see both light blue, or I mean, a little bit of lighting of the sky and stars. Just like I described. So go on.
You're starting to understand it now.
I explained it to you. But you're placing this thing here is like, that's placing something in space. And the sun is not in space.
So, those two guys are closer to your tiny router.
They're outside of the field. Do you understand the field? The analogy the guy was trying to explain to you is, look, even if you can see the other guy's router, even if the other guy can touch his router and you can see the other guy's router, even then, if you're outside of that field, you do not receive that router's signal. Now, that's that individual's router. It's an analogy. You are too far to receive the signal, which means the field has moved on and you are not receiving that field. Do you understand? What do you have when you don't receive the daylight field? You have, well, the nighttime field. That's what.
Then this guy here in Cape Horn.
Is he inside the field? Yes, right. Great. So he can see the sun in his sky. Yes, great.
But he's still connected to the route.
Yes, because it's in the field. But continue.
Because it's daylight here, according to you.
Yes, according to the real world. But you keep placing the sun at a distance. You're a moron doing this.
Bigger distance. And those two guys...
That's right. He's inside the field, and these two guys are not inside the field. Can you see? Can you understand? Regardless of what distance you happen to have arbitrarily chosen the router to be, you keep thinking of distance. Distance means space, an actual distance traveled to an object. The sun is not an object.
Away from your router. And this is the Tropic of Cancer here. You draw it yourself.
No, this is an old map, and this black line was the area for the eclipse. Stop lying to your people.
Because I hate you say, that's the eclipse. No.
Dude, I literally painted this black for the eclipse.
This line is on the tropic.
No, it isn't.
See that, the dark line here?
No, it isn't. And that's why I pulled this map, because it's wrong. So why don't you use a map that's right?
You manipulator.
Oh, wow. Listen, QMF, you're a piece of shit. You keep manipulating by using old maps, and you keep manipulating your viewers. And your viewers are going to be watching what I'm streaming too. And your viewers will know, because your viewers can go to my Patreon and free download the real current maps. Does it mean that they'll never change? No. In fact, I think New Zealand has to change already. But they can download the real ones, the new ones. But they see you manipulating by using old. This was the first map that I drew 3 years ago, QMV. Why aren't you using the one that I published only earlier this year? Would that be manipulation? Yes, it would.
I believe the closer you are to your router, the better connection you have.
Wow, you didn't pass. You would not pass logic. You would not pass a logic test. You really wouldn't. If you keep thinking of an objective distance to an object, if your fundamental premise is wrong, the rest of your argument is wrong. And your fundamental premise is wrong, QMV. The sun is not at a point in space. It is not a distance away from anything.
But this router works different. The further you are, the better the signal gets. So with your fields, you're just an idiot, piece of shit.
Hey, that's interesting. This old map of mine, you see how it has straight longitudes? You see how it's wrong? Then you know why I pulled it. But now let's continue watching this clown show continue to objectify the sun.
Your router is the same bullshit as a flat earth circling sun on the Gleasons.
You're retarded. Look, the analogy went like this. There are two people and they each have a router. They also each have a mobile phone. Where's the other router? I don't see the other router. Where is the other router, QMV? Have you forgotten the actual analogy?
Because on the Gleasons, the sun goes far away and shrinks and goes out of sight, and then it's night.
You're retarded.
And with your router, you need to be far enough away to be.
You're retarded, QMV. I'm sorry, but I literally think you are retarded.
Of the field. This is the same garbage. But this proves your bullshit.
No, you don't understand. This is proving your bullshit. You see, your viewers can hear the actual analogy. They can hear two suns. So two different people in two different spheres of influence by fields. How one has access to one and the other has access to another. And how if this field diminishes, it doesn't mean that you suddenly have access to the other's field. Whilst that others, if their field maintains, they still have access to their field. They can hear this themselves. And what they're seeing is you lying, pretending like it was replacing the sun, which is not a the thing, with a router. Like, no, it was explaining the field and it was explaining it with more than a router. It was explaining it with two routers, not with two people having access to the same router, with two people having access to two different routers.
With your field and your troll idiots at your channel. Get lost. This is the Tropic of Cancer.
No, it isn't.
Kankerleier.
Tropic of Cancer goes through Mexico. That's not the Tropic of Cancer.
Are you going to explain this away with some wizardry?
No, I'm explaining it away by describing what you're doing. Where's the other router? If you're going to objectify and place routers, okay, great. Go ahead and place all of the routers, or in fact, just place 2 routers and move the 2 routers around however you want to move them. It might help you to do it over my current map. It might help your viewers see that you're full of shit. So I doubt you will.
Or some mainstream science?
Mainstream science what?
With 3 satelloons? Or are you going to tell us that the force field from the stars are way stronger than the force of the sun?
Well,
then this guy have to see stars also.
Wait, I thought this guy was in daytime. How is he seeing stars also if he's in daytime?
Because he's farther away from the router.
No, you already explained. He can see the sun, the router. Why are you now pretending like he can't see the sun, the router? It was your main point before.
He must see night behind him with stars.
I think you lost your own point, QMV. I think you got lost in the labyrinth of your own distortions and lies.
You get a tiny router.
What are you doing? Like, I don't know what he's it's almost like he's marveling at his own composition. You understand that you've just modeled your retarded thoughts, don't you? And you're now contemplating your retarded thoughts.
Pieces of shit.
Very good, very good. I was thinking, by the way, so I'll stop screen sharing. I was thinking, in fact, I discussed with some people that I might make it a running thing. In fact, I might have said it in the last hangout. Might make it a running thing. Every hangout, you know, we see what Angry Inspector Clouseau is doing. But the guy's just so... it's very difficult when dealing with somebody who's that profoundly broken. It's no different to dealing with a globeling who's trying to convince you that it is a globe. And you say to them, do you have anything that supports that? And they say, yeah, well, look at these equations. You go, no. Those equations could be describing how many seahorses it takes to keep the Earth rotating. Okay, you can use equations to demonstrate that. So forget the equations. Can you demonstrate it? Is there something that you can do to demonstrate it? Oh, yeah, well, look, things fall. It's like, yes, that's right, things fall. What else? Because things fall on the flat Earth too. So what else? Well, the things in the sky are round. Yeah, the moon is round and the sun is round. And the other things, you can't really distinguish the shape very much because it keeps moving around, doesn't it? So, John C. Oddity 2, why you block me, bro? I don't know. Were you being an ass? So I'm going to give you a wrench. But I'm going to watch. Were you being an ass? I mean, it might be that you're saying things tongue-in-cheek and it doesn't translate. But I'm going to watch. 2 gay Dutchmen on a dodgy gay FE looking for their other gay Dutch lost man. What? Okay. Don't understand that, Johan. Yeah. So Mark Brown, you don't deal with idiots beyond hope. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I thought it was going to be fun, but it's getting to the point. It's like, wow, did that guy really not get the analogy? Did he really not get it? Because it's stipulated in order to describe different people having different access to fields. Instead, he just eliminates that and makes it just one field, and they both have access or lack thereof to that one field. It's like the guy was going out of his way to try to explain it to him, but he deleted the comment. Like, no. And then I read the comment, so he heard the comment. Even if he didn't want to read it, he heard it. Then he pretends like it's talking about one. John C. Oddity 2. Okay, well, your second isn't blocked, so, you know, carry on with that one. He doesn't want to register. Sandy123. He doesn't want to register. Yeah, he is retarded still, unfortunately. He's trying to make me angry. Ellen Mentor. Who? QMFy. He doesn't make me angry. He makes me a little bit sad, if anything. It's like, okay, so another globling. That's what he is. He's just another globling, another guy who can't deal with reality. Globlings have never seen a rainbow and actually thought about it. That's right. They really haven't. And many flat earthers, same thing. Same thing. I seem to have a rainbow in my... Oh, yeah, I see a bit of a... Yeah, it's the light. It's the lamp. There. It's the edge of the field falling into the center. Dave Hinkle, when asked about sun by people, is it accurate to say the sun is an apparent object, not physical, and unique to where you are observing it from? Yes, only I wouldn't say the word object. If you say object, then they objectify it. They think, so it's at a location. If you say to them, look, it's like a rainbow. A rainbow is not really an object. You can refer to it as such if you want, but it's not really an object. It's not really there. So, and then go on to describe as an apparent object, because then they'll get it, because you have explained to them the rainbow and they understand rainbows. Most people have seen rainbows. So Dave Hinkle, yeah, but you'll have to go out of your way to explain the non-objectivity of it. So an apparent object, yes, not physical, and you need to where you're observing it from. Yes, definitely. Cosmic Surfer, he should put some VR on for 20 minutes. Maybe wake him up a tad. It wouldn't. Even if he joined you guys and he looked through the Cape Town sun and then he went, oh, okay, and now looked through the other suns, he would still think it must triangulate at some point. I'm going to show, by the way, what I said before about the lines will appear to converge, but there's no actual saying whether or not they really converge. I'm going to show you with these. Let me make sure. Okay. So if you're looking at the sun, two people are looking to the sun, okay? And this is their angle to the sun. So here's one person, and here's another person. And you look, and if you look like this, oh, you might think, well, if you carry on in a straight line, they meet, okay? But in reality, they're like this. They don't meet. They don't meet. So when you look at that and you go, wait a second, they don't meet. And by the way, they don't meet on the sphere Earth and they don't meet on the flat Earth. It's not just a flat Earth thing, okay? It's reality, like real world. Model it really. So you have this going on where they don't meet. They might appear to, if you choose to just draw like the fool QMFy, who's only drawing azimuths, like pointing in this direction and that direction. Yes, they are pointing when by the way, at certain times of the day, it will point to different directions from different places at the same time. It will point like this. Here's this place in the south, and here's a place farther north, and pointing in different directions. But how much different those directions? It depends on where you actually are. When you model it with the longitudes the way I've shaped them, they point a lot more in the same direction. But obviously, it's very difficult to see how is it actually pointing. You're going from north. Are you going from true north? Are you going from magnetic north? What time are you looking at? Where are the details coming from? Are those details are you looking at UTC for the various different locations, which you have to do? You can't go by the regional times. What are the orientations? What are the azimuth and elevation angles to the sun? And when you do that, you find it doesn't matter what you do, they don't meet. The lines don't meet. Just like the people pointing at the sun, that apparent sun in the Coelux lamp, pointing here and pointing there. If you could project those lines, they don't meet. So that's what happens. At sunset, the light reflection renders for each individual directly. The light appears to reach each individual's own feet, but never reaches the person's feet standing next to you. That's right. And not only that, but Jack Dunphy, if you look very carefully, you'll go to the beach, you'll look at the sun, and you see that it comes towards you. But you might try this wherever you go in the world, and at times you might see that it doesn't actually come directly to you. When I saw this, it was veering just slightly to my right. And I was actually, it was before I was a flat earther, I was studying the sun and water transparency for paintings. And it struck me, it looks like it's coming towards you, but then, because I'm squatting to look at the waves, it's then being chopped onto the top of the waves, but it appears to be going off to my right. So I move to my right. It continues to be going off to my right. I call my girlfriend's brother to come and squat a couple of meters to my right and look at the sun. And I didn't say to him, is it veering off to your right? I just said to him, where is the sun path going? And as he's squatting, he's looking, because he was a painter too, and he's looking and he's like, he's leaning to his right. Okay. I've shown videos of this, of the sun making a curve from elevation. Okay. The reason I poke fun at Tim Osman for this, that's Jason Hornbury, before anybody forgets. I joined one of Jason Hornbury's hangouts, and I said to him, the sun you're showing, have you noticed how the reflection is bending like a banana? He hadn't noticed, okay? So he booted me from that hangout. I then went onto my channel, and I took a clip of that portion where he had never noticed, and his globing friends suddenly, having never noticed before, spontaneously had explanations which didn't actually work, because the only thing that can make that is if the land actually is raised, which would be the water being raised. The water doesn't raise at the edge of a body of water. That's the only way it could bend like that. So, and I explained, no, the water has to bend, you freaking idiot. So this is why Tim Osman issued a copyright strike on my previous channel for showing that. Okay. So guys, I'm not kidding. In fact, there's a flat earther out there called Ian Leahy, whose avatar is him at the beach with the sun trail. And you can see that the sun trail is curved. It's not coming directly to you. So yeah, just take a look. Just take a look and take in what's there instead of expecting to see things, because when you go and expect to see things, your brain will block out things that you're not expecting. Your brain really will do that. I describe it in the Book of the Sun. It's called inattentional blindness. You don't notice, like, not because you're purposely trying to not notice, your brain will not register noticing it. There are two types of inattentional blindness. They're in the Book of the Sun, by the way. West Coast Wisdom, and we're only visualizing from ground level. Yep. So I'm looking. Sorry, I needed to stretch my back. Let's see. Somebody's saying, Rock Lover, the bird's working for Patricia. Ugh, for what? And has done an MK Ultra on Kionfi to wind Antonio up. No, good conspiracy theory, but no. The guy's just broken. He can't handle not understanding something. And instead of looking again to try and start assembling an understanding, he keeps modeling the same errors over and over and over. And when you say to him, why don't you stop modeling the errors? He says, because that's all I can do. Pretty much. He said it in that hangout. I haven't got anything else to model. Well, then stop modeling errors. Also, critiquing maps, if you're not a map drawer, it's the same as critiquing a baker when you can't bake, or anybody else who can do something you can't. I mean, that's how retarded it is. Like, just the levels are freaking wrong in that guy's brain. Fancy somebody going up to a bricklayer who can't lay bricks going, what are you using that for? Like, to make sure it's vertical. I wouldn't do it like that. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? If you can't lay bricks, don't go and criticize a bricklayer who can lay bricks. Just retarded. It's retarded, and apologies to anybody to whom that might be an uncomfortable thing. I'm not referring it as the classification of a person that has a developmental error, and it's an error. I'm describing it as an insult. It happens to be the same word, but I'm not using it that way. We do have words, I mean, we could think of other words, moron, but then people that are relatives of morons could object to that too, because there really are morons in the world, and it's a form of retardation. What is happening during eclipses? I've started working on modeling eclipses, of describing eclipses and what happens in the real world, and it's looking like it's coming together. Okay, so let me read the rest of the comment. What is happening during eclipses? If the sun is just manifestation of the field, why is it getting dark? Is radiation causing light? Lighting the gases causing daylight, weakening that time? Right, so let me stop this from scrolling. Right, what is happening during eclipses? Okay, the sun is a holoprismatic glare. So that's a glare that doesn't actually have a location, just like a hologram doesn't have a location. The sun is a holoprismatic glare. It's a nexus point of filaments that, from your vantage point within the field, there are only the filaments that are energized in your field can only possibly present the sun where it's presented from your field. If you move 2 feet that way, you're in a slightly different area of the field, and the sun presents itself necessarily where it has to because of the difference in the field. Okay? And then make it 6,000 miles, doesn't matter how far you want. Same principle. It's a holoprismatic glare in a field. What's energizing that field is a microwave radiation. The moon getting in front of the sun is just a convenient explanation of what's happening. It isn't what's happening. What's happening is the field that describes itself or shows itself or presents itself as the circular sun to us. The circle of the sun, by the way, being made out of lots and lots of filaments crossing over, not just like this, but like this too, in all of the different combinations that you could cross over filaments. Those filaments are energized and present this way. What's happening during an eclipse is that there's a modulation to that energy. Everything seems to have frozen. How much of what I was, for God's sake, how much of what I was saying has just gone? Let me rewind. It's just a convenient explanation of what's happening. It isn't what's happening. What's happening is the field that describes itself or shows itself or presents itself as the circular sun to us. The circle of the sun, by the way, being made out of lots and lots of filaments crossing over, not just like this, but like this too, in all of the different combinations that you could cross over filaments. Those filaments are energized and present this way. What's happening during an eclipse is that there's a modulation to that. How is it that it always happens when I'm explaining something like this? And everything seems to have frozen. Very good, YouTube. It always happens when... That's an interesting coincidence. So I'm going to try again. Let's see if it happens again. There's nothing running on my computer. Nothing has kicked in. There's no... It's boom, pause. So I'm going to monitor the window and make sure that what I'm saying is actually going out. So I don't have to repeat it. And so people don't say, it glitched out just when you were explaining or describing. Right. The field that causes the energizing of those filaments is interrupted. So picture, for a want of a better reference, a guitar string. I don't have my guitar. A guitar string, guitars being strummed, those vibrations being the oscillation of the filaments. And picture that the modulation to those frequencies is somebody coming along and putting their finger on the strings. What's changing is the field is coming down into the region of Earth and lifting. And as it comes down, it stops only a few, and then it stops more, and then it stops more, and then it stops less, and then it stops less, and then it stops interrupting. That's what's happening. You can replicate it. I don't know if it will let me play this, but I will try to play something. It's the physics girl with the vortices on the water. I showed this before, got a copyright strike for it, by the way, which is why I say I don't know if it will let me play this. So when I describe the filaments and the fields and the energizing and the interference, just give me a second. I'm describing in layman's terms, but I'm glad I'm using layman's terms, because when I look into the physics, I see all of these errors that are real errors that the physicists can't work through. They can't get rid of. Just like they can't figure out time. They can't get rid of. So physics go. I'll play just a small part of this here. Just a second. Sorry. Okay. What we're going to see, let me make sure that it's, I have to make sure it's actually playing, so I have to split my screens. What we're going to see is just a small portion, and it's for educational purposes. I didn't mean to wink, but I did. It just happened. Okay. Let me make sure it's going out. These two circles that you're seeing here, those are caused by vortices on the surface of the water. I said that with emphasis on purpose, okay? So, and they make their way across. Now, if you were lay in that pool with your head right at the bottom of the water, looking up, you would be seeing, well, the sky through the surface of the water. And when this came into your sight, you would see, well, a dark portion within that sky. And then it would move off. Now, this is a disturbance to the light. What's really happening here, and the physics explanation is wrong, and they should understand it from this simple experiment. They should understand that their explanation is wrong. Their explanation is that the waves of light are being dispersed. It's like, no, it isn't. it's not the waves of light are being dispersed. The waves of light are being caused to coalesce. You can see the brighter area here. And this is not the surface of the water. This is under the water. Okay, so this is the floor of the pool. The extra light here is not described by the physicists, by the way. They describe the change between the light and the dark. They don't describe the extra light region because it's outside of their theory. What's really happening is the filaments of light that are reaching down to the ground, when they enter a vortex, so here there's a vortex, okay? This vortex causes a counter vortex into space. So the opposite of that vortex. This counter vortex into space has polarity to it. This polarity causes the filaments to follow the avenues of that counter vortex of, call it magnetism if you want. It doesn't matter what you call it. That counter vortex in space causes the filaments to bend towards the edges of it, which is why they present themselves through the water as extra bright here. Now, this is the region, because what happens with an eclipse is not the same as this. This is an illustration to explain a principle. Because what's happening is not that light is going through a surface like the water surface. What's instead happening is the light is going through a myriad of water surfaces. All of those water surfaces aren't actually spanning at 90 degrees from the direction of the light or anything like that. Those water surfaces are best described as combinations of filaments, all of which cross and intermingle. But there's always incident points where those filaments are at the most acute angle to the vibrating energy that brings us light. That's what's interrupted by the eclipse. The eclipse is not caused by the moon. In fact, the moon is almost like a counter to what I'm describing with the eclipse. The moon is not a counter to the sun. It's a counter to what causes the eclipse. I think it might have paused again. Has it paused? Don't know. Okay, so I'm going to stop screen sharing that so I can see that I'm actually transmitting. Yeah. Okay. So that effect is caused by a surface having light, having a vortex, having a counter vortex shape caused by the actual. So look, water, the surface of water isn't just like the atmosphere and the globe model, less pressure, less pressure, less pressure, none. Okay. The surface of water has a charge on it. That charge is also in the water. The water, all of the water has a charge, which is what's keeping water together. But where the water meets air, there's the end of that charge, and then there's the charge of the air. This end of that charge, when you do this to it, like creating a vortex, that charge goes up and tries to join together, which is what water does. It tries to join together. So it creates this shape. The filaments come down, and this shape, which is a charge, causes the filaments to divert to the edges of the vortex. There's all of that all of the light that would have fallen straight through, and now instead concentrated on the filaments that are touching the edge. And that's why it's extra bright when it makes its way down to the ground. And it's made its way down to the ground, not at the same angle as the vortex pulls the filaments, but at the same angle that the rest of the filaments pull. Because the light filaments pull light, just like airy beams. Now, some of you might not be familiar with what I'm saying, and you might think, it's just a gibberish. Look into it and you'll see, actually, it's not a gibberish. That's kind of interesting. It's true. It's interesting, and it's true. This is what causes water to take that spherical form. It's not just nothing. It's not the air pressure causing it. That's just a complete gibberish. Anyway, right, now I'm looking in the chat. The Supreme Architect, nice explanation. So it's like vortex of water getting down and air is going up. Yes, they do have polarities, yes. Only it's not just air going up. The air going up, it's not really, it's the charge of the water. The charge of the water tries to, it counters, it wants to, so if water's like this, the charge of the water is attracted to each other like this. If you do this to it, it tries to bridge. It doesn't want to go the long way, it wants to bridge. So this bridging causes it to create a counter shape to it. It wants to go in straight lines. It doesn't just want to go in straight lines across like this, because that shape, well, not because that shape, that's the shape it makes when there's no vortex at all. When there's a vortex, there's a combination, there's like an opposite effect as you get with magnetism. I don't know how to explain it better than that. And I've noticed that there are some flat earthers that really object to me explaining things. It's like, go and look. It doesn't matter whether you like me or you don't like me. Go and look. Don't just sit there making opinions. Go and look. And if it turns out that I'm right, you don't have to come and kiss my ass. But stop saying, oh, it shouldn't be. No. Go and look. And if it turns out it's right and you want to say it, say, hey, you know, Antonio was saying this. Because, you know, some of the stuff that I found, it was stuff that was being, what really helped put things together was stuff that Aaron Dover was explaining. Aaron Dover disappeared. He can't explain anything more. He's gone. But what he was explaining was true and demonstrably true. Like that spider webs create the static of the spider webs create rainbows, which means there's a charge and the light is on that charge. It's not just the actual filaments that are presenting. No, there's a charge over and the rainbow shows you. It fills in the spaces between the filaments. This same charge is what I'm describing with water. It's not exactly the same charge. It's the same principle. Good. The vortex that travels across behind the filaments and creates the effect in the pool, but presents it to the nexus and pushes the light from the nexus until it passes across. I don't know. Let me see. Could it be vortex that travels across behind the filaments and creates that effect in the pool, but presents it to the nexus, pushes the light from the nexus until it passes across? Very much so. Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw the eclipse guy. Well, let me see. Give me a second. I'll try to screen share. This is genius. Some of the stuff that's being done to counter the flat earth is genius. So you have in the real world, you can't just pick up details when somebody has the sun behind them with a camera. You just can't. Except that now you can, because cameras are very, very different and you can use all kinds of various different filters. So you have, just give me a second, I will find it, and I will play a small portion. And this is one of the parts that I mentioned earlier, where they still describe the sun in the sky as a yellow disc. Like, it's not yellow. Stop saying it's yellow. Why do you keep lying? So give me a second. I will find it in my history. And I will paste the link in the chat. Globalings, you will love this. Flat Earthers, you'll find this interesting too. Give me a second. It will take me a while to find. Yes, here it is. Stand-up math or stand-up maths. And what you'll find will be something that Globalings will use to say, yes, you can see details when the sun's there, because you couldn't in the real world until now. But now you have this, okay? what you're going to see is standard. I'm trying to find a clip where there's not too much gibberish on the screen. Okay. Now, screen share. And what you'll note is you can see the guy's features, even though he has the sun right over his shoulder. I'm not going to play the video because I don't want the copyright strike, but I will paste the link in the chat. You see how you can see his features? But there's the sun. And this is during the eclipse. The eclipse is supposedly happening. The one that had just happened in South America, the majority of the South American flat earthers didn't say a freaking word about. Okay, so here he is. You can see all his features, see? So now when you look at the moon landing and you see all of that, it's like, well, first, let's remember something. None of these features would be available if there wasn't an atmosphere that's actually causing secondary lighting or atmospheric lighting. On the moon, there was no atmosphere to cause any such lighting. Second, the technology for the camera that's presenting this did not exist in the 1960s and early 70s. So no, you're wrong. But I will paste a link to this video. And here's the link in the chat. Paste. So in this video, you'll note first, let me go back to it. The sun is distinctly yellow. In the real world, the sun is not distinctly yellow. In the real world, the sun is distinctly white, not yellow. Does not have a hint of yellow until the end of the day. Sometimes at the end of the day, it will have a hint of yellow. Now, this eclipse, I'll have to look into this further and look at what time they're supposed to be looking at the eclipse and whatnot, because this is very low in the sky. So it could be like, well, look, it's very low in the sky. Yeah, sometimes it's yellow. Great. He describes the sun as the yellow disk. But it isn't a yellow disk in the real world. He describes how you can actually calculate the eclipses using math alone. That's right. How do you think they calculate eclipses? They took enough records to establish what mathematics to follow. So they follow those mathematics. That's it. I mean, that's it. Any flat earther dedicated enough would be able to predict eclipses. But there's no point, because if you did, and if you got them right, Globalists would say, oh, you just looked at time and date or other eclipse predicting software or websites. Anyway, this is his horrible wife. Anyway, close that. So let me stop screen sharing. So these tricks that are done right now with, oh, look, here's the sun, here's all his features. These kinds of things are being done on purpose. It's not by mistake. If they wanted to, they could have shown the sun actually eclipsing and his features. All they have to do is compartmentalize the screen. So, yeah. Dan W, that's right. Programming that is orange or yellow. Yes. But he actually says it. Okay, uppercut rights. I think the issue here, Antonio, is that no one wants to theorize or fall for conjecture. It's not a personal attack. In my experience, if I am incapable of explaining things and it is entirely in its entirety, I give a miss. That's okay. And for people who don't want to fall for conjecture, say, yes, I totally buy that. I totally get that. Every single globe link fell for the conjecture of the globe, which goes against experience. The difference between that and my conjecture is that anybody can go and check the things I'm saying. It's not just conjecture. Anybody can actually go and check, like really check. And there's mainstream science that explains some of what I'm explaining already out there. There's already mainstream science that's saying, yes, there's a charge above water. Yes, water isn't the thing that you thought water was. Well, we'll just sidestep the H2O thing, and we'll go into these other things about water, and that's mainstream science. Pete and Peter have gone out of the way to say, you know, the water H2O thing is not true. Water is its own element. It should be on the periodic table. Water should be on the periodic table. Just like you can get alloys and minerals blended and elements that are combined in different alloys or percentages. Same with water. You can have water. You can have water with lots of salt, or you can have water with magnet, with anything that you can dissolve in water. But water is water. It's its own element, and it belongs there on the periodic table. It isn't there, though, because if it was, it would break down. It's a foundation. Water is a foundation for the atomic version of the world. And the atomic version of the world, the atom, is the foundation for the quantum version of the world. And you can't just get rid of those branches of physics altogether. You can't. Their theory, particle physics, which is atomic physics, the atom, everything is particles. Like, no, it isn't. Everything is crossing over filaments. The particle theory is a theory. It's a theory. And we forget that. Just like the globe theory or the heliocentric model. It's a theory. And particle theory, Pete and Pete, yes, uppercut. They're brilliant guys. The particle theory is a theory. It's called, they call it particle physics. It's like it's a theory. I'm going to tell you what, I'll pull it up now. And like all theories, they're subject to be proven wrong. And when they're proven wrong, all of the things that worked from having been resolved through particle theory, everything that works as a conclusion of having used models of particle theories, when the truth comes along, or a closer thing to the truth, when this closer thing to the truth, all of those different avenues that which were arrive at true things, all of them have to be translatable to this new interpretation. And when you translate it and it works, you go, well, yeah, with this new interpretation, using the same formulas, you arrive at the same truth. In which case, this is more valid than that old one, especially when that old one is proving to be false by observation. If it's the observation that causes the creation of this new theory, then this new theory is stronger than the previous. That's how it goes. Trinity 4, you can have a wrench too. How are you doing? Yeah, so I'm going to show you. And this is taught in schools as truth. The particle theory, particle physics, it's a theory. And it was developed, guess who? Guess who laid the foundations for particle physics? I'm going to wait to see if anybody in the chat. I'm waiting. Do any of you guys know who laid down the foundations for particle physics or for atomic physics? I'm going to look in the chat. Jesuits? Nope. I mean, it might have been, but no. I'll keep waiting. If you guys are there doing a search, then that's not fair. It's a pop quiz. I don't see anybody updating. Nope. Nope. Not Bohr, not Einstein. I'm looking for Juranism, nope. Dad Dunphy, you missed a question. The question was, can any of you guys guess, or do you know, who laid the foundations for particle physics or particle theory? Gleam. You're going to kick yourself when I say it. Democritus. That was only metaphysical. Santoria Auditore. Democritus? No. Cavendish. That's right. Okay. Particle physics. Let me screen share. A fountain of knowledge. Yes. What are you typing here, Gleam? Yeah. Okay, give me a second. I will screen share. Particle physics from the fountain of knowledge. Particle physics, also known as high energy physics, is a branch of physics that studies the nature of the particles that constitute matter and radiation. Huh? Particles that constitute matter and radiation. Okay. Although the word particle can refer to various types of very small objects, e.g. protons, gas particles, or even household dust, particle physics usually investigates the irreducibly smallest, so can't be made smaller, the kind of can't be reduced, so the irreducibly smallest detectable particles and the fundamental interactions necessary to explain their behavior. By our current understanding, these elementary particles are excitations of the quantum fields. Sorry, did you say filaments? That also govern their interaction. The current dominant theory explaining these fundamental particles and fields along with their dynamics is called the Standard Model. That's right, it's a theory. Thus, modern particle physics generally investigates the Standard Model and its various possible extensions, e.g. to the newest known particle, the Higgs boson, or even to the oldest known force field, gravity. It's a theory. Particle physics is theoretical only, and the particle part of it is solely theoretical. So when you look at the quantum eraser experiment, if you translate what's happening to energized filaments, boom, suddenly the whole thing is solved. There's no magic there. There's no, everything's freaking sensible. It is sensible. So the history, particles, 19th century, John Dalton, don't think so. Concluded each element, I'm looking for Standard Model, experimental laboratories, a theory. There you go. It is the theory, and then within it you have the specialists who theorize only about the theory, which is a theoretical particle physics. Attempts to develop the models, theoretical framework, and mathematical tools to understand current experiments and make predictions for future experiments. Except when they get results that go against their predictions, they just scrap them. They just either scrap them or they do not mention them, discuss them. So still in the fountain of knowledge. Hello, the double slit experiment. This is peculiar, how they're using a drawing to misrepresent what happens, isn't it? Let's see if there's a photo. Here's a photo. Let's see if it's been, oh, look, in the very photo, you see this fringing that happens vertically. It's not discussed. They only discuss the horizontal fringing, like, whoops, here. They're discussing the horizontal fringing. It doesn't really happen in the real world. In fact, what happens in the real world happens also from a single slit. Okay, this, which is the single slit pattern, was it? Oh yeah, see, it's very different. Say, hold on, what's this here and this here? It can't be interference because, well, you haven't got a different slit to cause the wave interference. So what is this and this? Well, we'll just not mention it. Oh, okay. So in this one with a double slit, was this fringing? What's this vertical fringing that's going on? Well, we'll just not mention it, and they don't. It's because it proves their theory wrong. And when that happens, they simply don't mention it, and they teach it as if what was happening was what they predicted. That's what they do. Just give me a second. That's what happens with physics. And that really is what happens. Look into it. Look further into it. I do explain it in the Book of the Suns. In fact, pretty notable in the Book of the Sun. It's just we just don't know. And that's what happens. I watched, by the way, yesterday. I'm going to paste a link to it. By the way, this is not going to go on for much longer because although I slept really well, and I've been up. Sorry. I slept really well. It's been chucking it down today. It's been great, but I'm feeling a lot of fatigue from the electrical equipment today, a lot more than normal. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share in the chat one more thing, and then I'm going to wrap up. And it's the Salton Sea thing. That's, I don't know, there were two groups, flat earthers and globe earthers. And the mainstream went on about the globe earthers and the stuff that they found, and oh, it confirms, you know, like National Geographic and all of this. And then there's a long documentary made by the flat earthers who were there filming the same stuff. It's like, oh, the real story is very different. Somehow, Jeranism labeled it as a what was it? As a fail. Like, what's going on here, Jaren? Why are you saying that this is a fail? Why would you do that? Right, I'm looking for the video. By the way, I urge everybody to go and watch Mike Ball. In fact, no, before I go, I'm gonna here it is. I'm going to go to Mike Ball's page, channel, and I'm going to show one of his videos. So pause. What I'm going to share is it's called National Geographic Flat Earth. National Geographic Flat Earth Test, the real story, IIG West, ABC News, Jeranism, Flat Earth proven. That's what I'm sharing in the chat now. Okay, so look for it and watch it, because it's like, what the heck? No, Antonio doesn't have a date. Antonio's saying goodnight to his daughter. Okay, so but thanks for the joke. Makes me seem more appealable and more appealing to women. No. Oh, I might play a thing that the Onion made. In fact, I will, just for giggles. Right, so that's that. Now, Mike Ball, just a second. For those who like geometry, here, just a second, and you will see the retarded. This is the level of retardation. Wait, I'll use a different word. The level of dilution that the globelings go through is on a par with what QMFI engages in. So what I'm going to play is a video by Mike Ball, and I'm going to share it in the description, and I urge people to go and subscribe. This is what I meant by some of the best things are coming from smaller channels. He has 280 subscribers, okay? And he's worked with Mr. Thrive and Survive. It's a shame that more people don't see this, okay? 86 views, for goodness sake. So after watching this, I would urge, I think it would be nice if people actually went and watched the video on his own channel, just to let him know that you've seen it. You don't have to give credit to me. You don't have to say, Antonio showed you a video and it's great, or anything like that, okay? It would just be good because everybody has morale, okay? If suddenly he gets 100 people seeing his video on his channel, then that's good for him, for his morale. So wait, let me share it. And it's just nice. I just think it's nice. Okay, so I don't know if I shared it already, so I'm going to share it now. Okay, I'm going to play the video and then I'm going to say goodnight with a video from The Onion News. So here's the video. I'm going to play it with audio and enjoy. I'm going to go and make yeah, a tea. 1 second.
The radius of the sun is 696,342 kilometers. When will Macball learn to do it right? Mike, I think you should use software that allows you to draw yourself in scale model. This will help you understand where you're making mistakes. The sun is 100 times wider than the Earth and 400 times wider than the moon. And it's 400 times further away from Earth than the moon. So if you use those scales in your drawings, maybe you'll start to understand. Adrenaline out. The sun is bigger than the Earth. It is 100 times wider than the Earth. Your argument is based on it being a fraction of the size of the Earth.
First of all, let me state emphatically.
First of all, let me interrupt that to say, whoever was doing those voiceovers was brilliant. Mike Ball, if you ever get to hear this, that was brilliant.
That not one of you people know how far away the sun is, how big it is, what it's made of, or how it works. Your constant scolding about size and scale makes me laugh every time, because I know that you're merely parroting things you've been told but have never verified for yourself. You believe those things on nothing but blind faith in the people who have told them to you, apparently oblivious to the fact that those people don't actually know any of that stuff either. Instead, they were and are merely flawed human beings looking up at lights in the sky from the earth and making up stories about those lights. Secondly, let me say again what I said in the last video. What we know is that the sun and moon are the same angular size. Time I'm done with this series. And lastly, I apologize if I didn't make it clear enough in the video. but every point I was making had to do with seeing the center of the sun. Okay.
Sorry, I'm going to rewind that because I saw that there was a glitch. So I'm going to rewind to where Mike starts speaking. Apologies for that.
Makes me laugh every time because I know that you're merely parroting things you've been told but have never verified for yourself. You believe those things on nothing but blind faith in the people who have told them to you, apparently oblivious to the fact that those people don't actually know any of that stuff either. Instead, they were and are merely flawed human beings looking up at lights in the sky from the earth and making up stories about those lights. Secondly, let me say again what I said in the last video. What we know is that the sun and moon are the same angular size. So if I want to make a diagram with them being the same size, like we see them in the sky, I'm well within my rights to do so, since I'm not bound by the fanciful stories you guys believe and parrot back to others, and since you guys couldn't prove my diagrams wrong anyway. Thirdly, since I'm in the process of debunking the model you believe in on blind faith, I did make the sun huge towards the end of the video, and warned that it's only going to hurt you and help me by the time I'm done with this series. And lastly, I apologize if I didn't make it clear enough in the video, but every point I was making had to do with seeing the center of the sun. Okay, the basic premise is very simple. If you have three circles all centered on a horizontal line, then you cannot draw another straight line from the top of one through the middle of another and have it also go through the middle of the third, like this. At the top of this one, if I move it to the center of this one, it's not going to go.
Wait a second, guys. Is it really glitching? It looks to me like it's really glitching. Let me know, guys, because I'm not sure how it's streaming. When I'm looking at the stream, it looks like it's really glitching. A little. Okay, I'm going to rewind a little bit so that his point isn't lost.
Premise is very simple. If you have three circles all centered on a horizontal line, then you cannot draw another straight line from the top of one through the middle of another and have it also go through the middle of the third, like this. At the top of this one, if I move it to the center of this one, it's not going to go through the center of the third one. In fact, that was the entire point of quoting Nick Loam, who was not just a run-of-the-mill astronomer, but the curator of the Sydney Observatory for over 30 years and the author of many guides and books on astronomy. Because according to Nick, Bill and Jane could both see half of the sun without appealing to refraction from their spots on the surface of opposite sides of the world. And seeing half of the sun means seeing the center of the sun. And if they are seeing the center of the sun, then it matters not how big or far away you imagine the sun to be. You can imagine it to be 1 billion times bigger than the Earth and only twice as far away as the moon if you want, because the center of it is still going to be the same tiny spot in the middle of it, right? And the fact of the matter is that Bill and Jane would have to be looking through or around their horizons to see the center of the sun, like Nick said they could. Yet our horizon is not only perfectly horizontal, but also the exact point that we can no longer see under. If we could see below our horizon, then whatever we're seeing below it would be our horizon. And I'm saying that's impossible, because if we draw horizontal lines from Bill and Jane's positions on the Earth, those horizontal lines will never intersect the center of the sun, allowing them to each see half of the sun at the same time from opposite sides of the Earth. Now, am I wrong? Or is Nick Loam, one of the top astronomers in the world, wrong? Because that's the only point I began to make in that last video, and I didn't even finish making the point yet. That's coming in a future video. But hopefully for now, you guys can at least understand that the size of and distance to the sun plays no role in the matter, since we are only concerned with the center of the sun for right now.
That's it. As simple as that. That's a part 2. I'm going to play this other. That's a part 2. I'm going to show it. Yeah, why not?
Hi, this is Mike Bull. I've been putting out a few videos.
Now, Globelings can't deal with this, and Globelings can't model this. The only way for them to try to model this is to have either multiple moons or multiple suns. And that totally breaks their model.
About how the angles to the sun and moon don't seem to align with the standard heliocentric model of our world. A lot of people have told me that they can't quite get their heads around what I'm trying to show them.
What you talking about, Willis?
A lot of other people have offered rebuttals to the earlier videos.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
My plan now is to take it from the beginning, so at least everyone's on the same page. During the series, I will also address the rebuttals, including the ones that came in the form of videos from Globe believers. Okay, the basic premise is very simple.
Sorry.
If you have 3 circles all centered on a horizontal line.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just laughed out loud and it didn't seem to make sense. I'm sure. Well, I snorted. I snorted because somebody, which I think is Ace McLeod, not sure if it is, came in saying yo, and something to Karen B. And then Rock Lover wrote, Karen B is a classy lady. All her tattoos are correctly spelt. And that just made me chuckle. Mr. Harmon Walker, yes, me too, long time. Anyway, here we go. Let's continue.
Then you cannot draw another straight line from the top of one through the middle of another and have it also go through the middle of the third, like this. At the top of this one, if I move it to the center of this one, it's not going to go through the center of the third one. And we do it this way. I'll put this on the top of this one and drop it to through the center of that one, like so. It's not also going to go through the center of the closer one. So what's that got to do with the heliocentric model? This is the alignment during new moon. We have the Earth here, we have the moon directly between the Earth and the sun. They're all on the same line. Actually, it's a plane. You'll have to think of this as, you know, a plane coming straight out towards you and going beyond them into the wall. They're all aligned on the same plane during new moon. So imagine this is the South Pole. Okay, so that would make the Earth spinning this way, like so. It's rotating around. Okay, so you are on the equator, and on the equator, you are standing up like so, and you're looking this way towards the east. And if you get far enough around, you'll see the sunrise in your eyes, okay? So that's how you are on your ball there. All right, so now, this is your horizon. As you're spinning around on the Earth, getting towards the sunrise, you cannot see any of this level at all. You cannot see any of it. You can only see, your view right now is everything above it. You're looking up at stars. You're looking at the stars. You can see everything above it. You cannot see the level itself or anything below it, because that is your ground. That's your horizon right there. You can't see beyond it. This is the terminator line. This is all daylight. This whole side of the earth is dark. Okay, so the sun will light half of the ball equally, no matter the 23.4 degree tilt or what season it is, no matter when or where, the sun is always lighting exactly half of the ball. Okay? So now you're coming around. Remember, you can't see anything below this top ledge here. So as you're coming around, let me move it up here a little bit. You're spinning around on your earth. All right, you get, yes, I don't know if you can see it, you can get right to the terminator line there. Now, let me drop, look at the middle bubble here. Right there is horizontal, okay? As in horizon. Here, let me get it. I'm going to just slide it up so it's right on the top of your earth there. So you're standing there on the earth.
There's no getting around what Mike Ball is saying. Even if people subscribe to the idea of a horizon drop, so from your observation point to the horizon, there being this 12 decimal place degree drop for both locations, if both locations have equal drop to their horizon and they're seeing the sun and the moon at the same place, then the same thing happens, only a little bit worse. So he's right. There is no way of getting around this.
You cannot see anything below this line. You can see just out here and everything above it. You can see the sky. That's it. Okay? When you get too horizontal, you can't see the sun at all. You can only see above this line. You definitely can't see the moon. All right? So that's the first one I wanted to address. And before you even get to how you can't see the sun and moon together, when you are looking at your horizon, you wouldn't be able to see the sun because it's in the center. It's aligned with the center of this ball. It's not aligned with the top of the ball. The sun's not up here. When you got the terminator line right here, the sun is aligned with the center of the earth, lighting half of the ball. The sun's got to be directly down the middle. A guy called Jerry BC1 recently uploaded this video as a rebuttal, and Dazza the cameraman mirrored it and heaped praise on Jerry for doing such a brilliant job. Here's what Jerry says in his video.
So if we go back and look at the model that Mr. Try and Survive and Mike Ball used in their experiment, we now know Mr. Stellarium just looks due east to see the sunrise. He does not look down to see the sunrise. It's bullshit. He does not look down to see the moon. That's bullshit. So what we have is Mr. Stellarium just looking at the horizon at sunrise to see the sun. The thing is, it only takes 2 seconds to debunk this silliness.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let my well, just.
Did you notice how Jerry debunked our silliness in 2 seconds? Yep, he just moved the sun up so that it's no longer aligned with the earth and the moon. He didn't consider poor Stellarium dude on the bottom of the earth, who's supposed to be watching the sun set at this same moment, did he? In fact, what Jerry has done here is reiterate the very first point I made in my very first angles video back in February.
That's right, because he would have also had to place the moon here. For what Mike Ball is describing, place the moon here, and also place the moon here for this observer. You see, according to Stellarium and astronomers, you can see the moon rise at the same time as the sun at certain points of the year when it's a new moon. Just there, same time, both, center of both, visible at sunrise and at the same time at sunset elsewhere on Earth, which would mean, well, moon visible here and moon visible here, and sun visible here and sun visible here. So 2 suns and 2 moon. Oh, that's okay then.
Actually, there are a lot of things wrong here. First, we must accept the absurd notion that a person at the top or bottom of this earth could see either the sun or the moon around this ball, when their field of view could only be horizontal, as in horizon. So this is the first problem I pointed out back in February, and Jerry was able to refute my silliness in 2 seconds by simply moving the sun up here. Now, to be fair, Jerry did offer another point of rebuttal, but I'll deal with that in an upcoming video. For now, I just want to point out that we couldn't even see the sun rise from the terminator line by looking due east along our horizon without moving the sun out of position like Jerry did. And if we move it up so that the guy with the blue horizon can see it rise like Jerry did, it makes it even more impossible for the person with the red horizon to see it set at the same time, right? And doesn't the heliocentric model allow for one person on one part of the earth to see the sun rise as a person on the opposite side sees it set? Well, fortunately, a different Mike asked that question back in 2014. Is it possible to observe the sun from opposite sides of the earth at the same moment? And the question was answered by a fellow named Nick Loam. Before we see the answer, let's see who Nick Loam is. Nick Loam was curator of astronomy at the Sydney Observatory for over 30 years. He continues to work as a consultant astronomer, and he authors the Australian Sky Guide, which is published annually. He's also written several books on astronomy. So suffice it to say that Nick Loam knows a little bit about the heliocentric model. So let's see how he answered Mike's question. Nick says, yes, we can, and we do not even have to climb mountains or go up in an aircraft to do so. And then he tells a story about Bill and Sydney and Jane on a cruise ship at the anti-Sydney, the antipode of Sydney. All right, and he goes into, I'll leave a link so you can read the whole thing. Now, this is important. He is talking geometrically here, geometrically. Okay, but around the time of sunset in Sydney and sunrise at anti-Sydney, there will be a time when Bill and Jane will both see half of the sun above the horizon, though different halves. Now, he points out sunrise and sunset are defined as when the top edge either rises above or disappears below the horizon. So we can then say that as Jane sees the sun rise at anti-Sydney, Bill still sees the whole sun with its bottom edge touching the horizon. As Bill starts to see that sun actually set behind the horizon, Jane will start to see the sun rise in anti-Sydney. All right, so there'll come a point when Bill is seeing half of the sun as it sets, while Jane sees the other half of the sun while it rises for her. Okay, so he goes into a few angles and degrees here. But he basically we can work it out that it will take the sun approximately 2 minutes to set in Sydney after it rises in anti-Sydney. Bill and Jane thus have 2 minutes while they can gaze at the sun simultaneously from their opposite sides of the earth. Okay, now remember, this is geometrically, that two people on opposite sides of the earth can both see the sun, the same sun, simultaneously for 2 minutes. Okay, he then goes on to talk about refraction. He adds refraction to the equation and comes up with, adding refraction, they can see the sun simultaneously for 9 minutes. Okay, so like I said, you can read the whole thing if you want, but the important thing is, even geometrically, no refraction involved at all, Bill and Jane can simultaneously gaze at the sun for 2 minutes from their opposite sides of the earth. And I'm telling you that this is 100% unequivocally, geometrically as impossible as these blue and red horizontal lines ever intersecting that sun, which is on its own separate but parallel horizontal line. And since the refraction rescue device has been dismissed before it's even appealed to, there's only one other appeal ball earthers can make. Oh, and before you start getting carried away and saying, well, no, dummy, the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, idiot, stuff like that. Let me explain 2 things. Let's make your sun just huge, okay? There's your sun. Like all the little illustrations on Google show, when they show Earth, Moon, and Sun, they always got this huge sun sitting there. All right, ask yourself, first of all, with that big old sun, how does that little moon ever pull off a total eclipse of the sun? How can that little dude completely black out that huge thing?
Oh, it's because it's really, really far away, see? That's the answer.
Right? That's the first problem. All right. Second, one of the points I'm going to be trying to drive home is as this guy is coming around, my point is going to be you will always see the sun first before you see the moon because the sun is farther away. It's common sense. It's basic geometry. And so as I'm coming by and I draw the line through the middle of the sun, well, he's seeing half of the sun right now. The guy that's standing on the Terminator line, he's seeing half of the sun. He can't see the moon at all. And by the time he gets spun around enough to see half of the moon above the horizon, half of it below his horizon, well, the sun's already up in the sky. Actually, it's 3.22 sun diameters up in the sky. So now, you want me to put a huge old sun up here? Well, that just hurts your cause because now, dude, is seeing the sun. He's starting to see the sun over here, and it's going to be hours before he sees the moon. And the point is that in the heliocentric model, experts say in new moon alignment, sun, moon, earth, all in a direct syzygy. They call it a syzygy. When they're all on that same plane, at that time, at that alignment, the guy up here, as he's coming around and coming from night into day, he can see the sunrise and the moonrise at the same time, okay? So this guy, as he's going away from the daylight into the night, the same thing. They say that he can see, I'll put it this way now, so they say the new moon sets with the sun, okay? So as he's coming, spinning around, see right there, his moon is already set. The sun is still up in the sky because for this guy, he can't see anything over here. All he's seeing is down here. All right, so same principle, because if you want me to use a big old sun like that, well, now the moon's already gone, and then hours will go by before he sees the sunset. Look, by the time he sees the sunset, dude's already way over here in the dark. He's seeing the sunset when he's 4 hours into nighttime, you know? So here's what we know. What we know is in the sky, looking from Earth, the moon and the sun are the exact same angular size. They both are a half degree in angular size. All right, that's what we know. You can believe a story that the sun is huge, it's 400 times bigger than the moon, and 400 times farther away. That's fine. You want to believe that. But for the purposes I'm doing this, they have to be the same size because they are the same angular size in the sky, number one. And number two, you've also got to believe that that little moon is going to totally block out that huge sun. It can't. But if the sun's the same angular size, then it can. So this is the size we have to use for everything that I'm going to be going through. Oh, and I forgot to mention another one. If we use the huge sun that they always show in their diagrams, when dude at high noon looks up into the sky, his entire field of view would be nothing but sun. Okay, and using a bigger sun just makes your argument weaker and mine stronger.
Smashing. So that's Mike Ball, folks. Sorry, I have a cat going crazy over here. Harmon Walker says there's no audio coming through. I don't know if that's still happening. Let me see. Let me listen.
If that's still happening.
Okay, it's working now. Guys, go and look at Mike Ball's videos. They're simple, to the point, and irrefutable. especially these that he's working on the angles. Now, somebody made me chuckle in chat saying that Wolfie likes angles. I don't think so. I think he likes the dream of angles, you know, but the reality of angles, nope, doesn't like that. Okay, so there's somebody writing in the chat. Sorry, 1 second. There's several people writing, but Thomas Cron writes: if photons only travel and travel straight and parallel, reaching Earth, then we should only see those photons coming from the part of the sun where the straight photons were emitted from. But we see the whole disk. That's right. So the other photons wouldn't be able to cast a penumbra on the moon. On the eclipses. End of heliocentric models lies is learning people what they see when they look at the moon only locally lit up the clouds closest beneath it. A moon 238,000 miles away should light up all the clouds evenly, like the sun ish. But it writes, no matter heliocentric models they show us, all are wrong and contradicting itself. Moon only locally lit up the clouds closest beneath it. It's only possible with a close, small moon. Sorry, apologies. End of heliocentric. Yes, the moon is like the sun. It is not a local thing. The field is local, but the same as with the sun and the same as with the rainbow. You cannot triangulate the moon. You really can't. So when globelings try to triangulate the moon, they take an observation, then go away. They work some mathematics with the observation, the angles, and they say, well, those angles and those other angles, well, if we do this and those angles converge, so let's do this. And that's what they do. They tweak the angles by curving the surface so that they meet, but they don't. I mean, even if you do that, they don't actually meet. They only meet in the mathematics. If you actually tried to do it with two different observers pointing at a distance from each other in a nice, crisp, full moon night, both pointing lasers at the moon, at the center of the moon, me here, some guy over there, you see the guy over there, his laser's not pointing at the moon at all. So, and I'm waiting to do a test with this, an experiment, but somehow my Globelings friends, even though very enthusiastic about proving the Earth to be a sphere through experiments and tests and video, have suddenly no, can't come and do the tube test, the Horizon tube test. Sorry, can't. First make everything here. First come into the studio and set everything up here, and then we'll go. Like, no, look, if I go and set everything up at the studio there, you'll definitely not come, Graham. So, yes, so that's the situation. There's also another one, which was, in fact, Richard, Dan, Richard, you know who I mean, guy in Stockport. If you fancy giving me a hand, the next time we have a crisp new moon, full moon, sorry, we'll make a video of the laser and the moon. Okay. I tried before setting up the camera, going elsewhere and filming from a second camera, but the second camera was too poor. It wasn't picking up the laser. So if you fancy it, let's do it. In fact, I'll send you a text in a while. Right, I'm now looking through the chat, and then I'm going to go. And I really am going to go. Celtic 67, good to see you here, man. Jack Dunphy, I'm in Portugal right now. Fancy a meetup so you can call me a wee man to my face, lad. Hey, you know, I tell you what, I don't know what's going on with Jack Dunphy or half the people there, but you know what? Half the time, what I found is that, well, not half the time, some of the time, some of the people, I'll give you my example with Rock Lover. Rock Lover and I, there was not a lot of respect there long ago. Now, he's probably one of the best people in the chat, even though he's a Globeling. And I say one of, so that everybody else can think, oh, I'm one of the other ones too. see what it is? Anyway, yeah. Can Dalibor help do experiments? Can it help? Gary Waybanger, how are you doing? From high altitude balloon, when you use a camera setting that allows you to see the stars, do you think it will be possible to see the Southern Cross? Sorry, that's in the Northern Hemisphere. You can see the hot Southern Cross from the Northern Hemisphere from the land, Gary Waybanger. You don't have to go up in altitude, but then when you look at the math of the angles, like the Southern Cross is not at the South Pole, it's a number of degrees from it. It shouldn't really be visible because I don't think it's 23 degrees from it, but it's visible from the Canary Isles, Gary Waybanger. Do a search for the Southern Cross seen from the Canary Isles. In fact, I might see if I can do it now. But Dan Winfield, if you fancy doing it sometime, then cool. And it's Richard Archer I was referring to. Okay. Gary Waybanger, I'm going to try and show you if I can find it. The Southern Cross from the Canaries. It used to be so easy before they changed their system. One second. I have it. Okay. It's a Spanish one, so I had to do the search in Spanish. Just bear with me. I'm not going to play the whole video because it is in Spanish. Just scrolling. I don't know how well it will show, okay? But what I'll do is I'll paste a link in the description, in the chat. So for Gary Waybanger, that's right. You can see the Southern Cross from the Northern Hemisphere. Green Grub, that Roxanne is holding one. Our intention to be asked tough. The Viking Bar. What's that, Madame Medusa? Can you let me know what you're referring to? Because if they come anywhere near me, near my Sendero Luminoso, they're going to regret it. They will regret if they come anywhere near, within the 50-mile radius of me. They'll regret it. I'll embarrass them publicly and streaming. So, Madame Medusa, let me know, please. Okay, so here's the video. I'm going to screen share. I'm only screen sharing the last portion of the video. There's the setup and whatnot. Just bear with me a second. And it is in Spanish. Yeah, Dan W, let's go and expose Toxan. Let's go and do some street activism exposing shills. Let's do that. Oops, suddenly plans to go near Manchester or Nottingham or Sheffield or Liverpool. Suddenly all those are scrapped. Watch. Of course I will. I'll embarrass the shit out of them. Right, give me a second. I've lost my my page. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Here. And it's just the end of the video, by the way, but I've pasted it in the chat if you want to take a good look. Okay, here's the video. What the heck? This isn't the video. Went to the next one. I hit the wrong key. Right. So explanations and prelims and whatnot. And we'll go to the end here, where he's actually looking. You got the worst ever. I don't know if you saw that. My God, that was poor. The worst ever. What the hell was that? The ISS transiting the moon. Let's see. Whatever that was. Oh, it's obvious. Oh, all right. Okay. I thought, what the heck is that shoddy thing? Let's see. I thought I saw the ISS. Oh, okay. I might have just been seeing things. Oh, it might be here. Oh, okay. You see why I thought it was shoddy. Right, so he's explaining.
Se ve, pero muy tenue. Habría que buscar un día que estuviera cubierto de nubes y veríamos a...
Okay. Music, which is a trigger. So no. I will play and you'll see shortly. And yay! But we do have someone in that region, and it's also been caught by the observatories. Okay, because in La Palma, Mallorca, they have an observatory. So there you go. It's not the best thing in the world, but you can see it. Now, there just so happens to be the divine plane in that region, and he has a camera, and he can do it himself. Okay, so I'm looking. Roxy and Dolly are there. Where? Where, Madame Medusa? The woke people are holding a meeting in your town, Stockport, at the Viking Bar? Are they really? What time is it? And Roxy and Dolly are there. The Viking Bar. Let me see where the Viking Bar is. That should be fun. The Viking Tapas Bar. Let's see. Manchester Meetup. Let's see. Live in Manchester. When? When? And it's in a tapas bar. Wow. If so, they're really in shit. Where, for God's sake? Who's that? Where? 17th of August? Well, that's not today. I thought you said it was going on tonight, Madame Medusa. Didn't you say it was going on tonight? I'm now looking in the chat. Oh, you meant we'll be holding one. Okay, I get it. Okay, 17th. That's great. Dan W, fancy coming over on the 17th of August? Let me see Gary Waybanger. I'll take a look. Okay. I misunderstood when you said is holding one in. Is holding one in. Is holding one in Stockport. I thought you meant now. Okay. So let me take a look at what Gary's sharing. I don't know this Viking bar in Stockport. Dan W. Yes, cool. There'll be two Dans. There'll be you and the other Dan, who's a nice guy. Oh, that's going to be okay. So Gary Waybanger, I'm looking. Yeah, there is the Southern Cross. But it is visible from the ground. Gary, is visible from the observatory. A few years ago. Yeah. So yeah, Gary, yes, it is doable. Oh, is this one? Sorry, sometimes the chat just leaps up, then I have to, I'm looking for flat all day, every day is sharing. Let me have a look. And this I was going to go, and I will go. I have a cat going crazy, and I want to get away from this, move some distance away from this electrical stuff. Oh, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. All right, no, it's footage of the sun. Yeah, isn't it interesting when the sun looks to be straddling the clouds? It's just fascinating. Yeah, that's a good video. Oh, wait. Oh. Dan W, I don't think so. He said Anthony Roundface might be there. I don't think he will. It would be fun if they were, though, if he was. The Supreme Architect, you quit FE because of your cat. Yeah, he's a flat earther. Completely, yeah. I'm looking in the chat. Oh, right. Okay, guys, look, I think I meant to mention this. I'm going to let the stream play for another 10 or so minutes. Okay. And this is all that I'm going to do. I'm going to say this. this might be the last stream. I don't know if it will. I don't know what's happening from tomorrow with YouTube and streams and whatnot. Okay, but there might still be streaming facilities, but I don't know. They might just put. I haven't looked into it enough to know. Okay, if this is the last stream, I know that there are loads of people in chat who get on with loads of other people in chat. So I suggest that if you want to share your emails with other people, that you take the opportunity now, because just in case the chat isn't, I mean, just in case live hangouts aren't available. And, you know, I was just thinking, hey, when they're no longer available, all the people in chat who chat with each other, how are they going to find each other's details unless they already have each other's details? So I think in the next hangout, I'll tell people, hey, you know, if you want to swap emails with each other, then go ahead and do. And if not, well, so be it. But at least, you know, I couldn't not mention it. And then the last hangout happens. And then everyone's like, oh, dude, that guy. Oh, and then you have to go and look for them in comments or whatever. YouTube is going through the change, Cubester. Yes. It's going wrong for YouTube. It's going wrong. It's like no matter what they do against certain political parties, boom, going wrong. No, it's almost like every move that they do, everything they support's like wrong, 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 everywhere. And if you think kind of Machiavellian, you think if they wanted to bring in these things, then a good way to go about it is by presenting all of these horrible things and cause a pendulum to swing to these other things. That would be a good way of doing it, you know, but that's Machiavellian thinking. Ah, so I see lots of you are sharing your emails. Ah, good idea, huh? Because imagine if I hadn't thought of it, and then now all of you guys will be like, oh, shine a light. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna. It's so, I have to say, this cat is so funny. It is so funny. It's a kitten, okay? And it comes and it's really threatening. It comes over and goes with its paw, you know, not with its claws, just comes over and does this kind of thing. It's brilliant. It's so funny. It's like a really quick, really light tap. Oh, you go forget you. Yeah, so. Now, obviously, don't be surprised if you get loads of Rock Lover. By the way, did you resend me those? I'll pass your details. Hey, Orb's Realm, there you are. That's Rory. You know already, Rock Lover. There you go, solved. I love it when I can be lazy and don't have to look for emails. I couldn't find you. I can't. No. Anyway, so now you're gonna. There you go. You have each other's emails. Oh. Celtic 67, will somebody record this and stream it maybe? Because I think I really do. I think it's a great idea if people start bringing back duels like in the old days. It's like, okay, let's see how determined you are to carry on with whatever it is that you're pushing. Like, obviously, we know sitting duck isn't very courageous or honest or has any kind of integrity, because when challenged, like, whoop. Rock Lover. So Thomas Grun writes, I hope I'm saying your name properly. It might be Thomas Grun. Stop being stubborn, will ya? How long time researched the heliocentric model and still doesn't see all the fallacies in it? Straight parallel rays for seasons, conical for eclipses. Flat Earth 4x. Isn't it shitty that some of the people in the chat will be people that have other handles when in other chats for fear of whatever their fear is? I just think it's I think it's pathetic, honestly. I also think it's pathetic how many people stayed away from this chat, and after the imposter left and things kind of calmed down a little bit, then they kind of reappeared. And Celtic 67, you're in that Dunphy is a shit house, Antonio. I'm looking forward to witnessing that tomorrow night. Dude, I wish I could witness it too. Like I really do, and video it. You're in Portugal, did you say? I wish I could. Flat Earth 4x, you're having a whale of a time, aren't you? Anyway, so guys, you know who else has a wrench in this chat? He's not saying anything. Wolfie 6020. Guess who else? Tim Osman. Guess who else? Simon Dan. Guess who else? Conspiracy Cats. None of those guys, I know they watch. None of those guys make comments. They have wrenches. No comments. Come on, you have wrenches. Wolfie 6020 and what's his name? Tim Osman, in whose chat I'm banned, by the way, but he has a wrench in this one. Who has an echo chamber now, huh? Oh, Dan Winfield is gonna be good. It's gonna be so good, but you'll have to do the filming. So with your phone, we'll go onto my channel. Oh, damn it. If we can't stream, we'll just have to make a video. So if there's no streaming, we'll just make a video and then upload it. Yeah, that would be good. I don't know how they're hoping to upload it, if they're hoping to upload it, because I mean to stream it, not if it's not happening anymore. Just want to say 100% honest in case something wrong happened being here with you guys. Even I can't be here too often, totally changed my life. Adrian Franzek, appreciated, dude. Much appreciated. They're all in a dark room. Is there anybody there? Poor Tim Osman. Poor broken agent. So what would an agent look like a real agent? Okay. Somebody who doesn't have many friends or any friends. Gary Clegg. Yeah, you can have a wrench. Why not? So, by the way, Gary Clegg, if you come in here and just said, hey, guys, I would have given you a wrench anyway. But it doesn't matter. What would an agent look like? An actual paid agent? Well, they'd have no friends. Tim Osman. They would move regularly. Tim Osman. They would have no discernible source of income. Tim Osman. when you look at Tim Osman, his hangouts, he's like, so, you know, where does your income come from? Like, oh, I sell weed. It's like, you sell weed in states where weed is legal? How are you making money selling weed where people can just buy it at the apothecary? Where's Tim Osman? Tim Osman's being quiet, going. That's what he's doing. Gary Clegg. What? Somebody's saying something. Thanks. You're welcome, Gary Clegg. Once you see Antonio talk, try to talk. He's oh, thanks. Try to talk. Like he's the only one with the power to bring balance to the chat. I don't know about that. Sometimes I've been busy doing hangouts. I've not really looked at the chat, and later looked at the chat. And, oh God, I wish I paid attention to what was going on. So, okay, lots of people having goes at Rock Lover. I'm going to have a little go at Rock Lover too. Rock Lover, I mean, it's not a real go. Why do you still think that the Earth is a sphere? Dan W. Tim's always around somewhere. He is, yeah. He'll be watching this. I mean, he doesn't have much else to do. It's not like he has a girlfriend. Like, what kind of guy of his kind of age frame doesn't have a girlfriend? I had girlfriends continuously at that age frame. Ah, that reminds me what I was going to show. This is not. This is just brilliant. So I'm gonna play 1 second. And this is just for comedy. And the women in the chat, notice that it's women that are saying these things and have helped to write these things. Okay, just in case anyone's a bit, you know, sensitive. Just a second. This has just really made me chuckle so much. Right. Just queuing it. Give me a second. Right. So I know there's fighting talk going on, but you know, comedy sometimes, you know. Just imagine. Okay. Jack Dunphy and Celtic 67. Just imagine if you met, like, convinced, like, and then something happened that made you both laugh. You're like, ugh. You know, like, take that fury away. But you know, if you want fury, have fury. Okay, I'm gonna play this. Just a second. I'm trying to queue it up. Set it up so I can make sure that I can see that it's going out properly. Make sure it's not muted. Good. It's only 4 minutes long. Just genius. Right. Let me screen share. Okay, so watch and enjoy.
We begin with up to the minute fight. financial fallout shelter coverage of today's top story. The nation's girlfriends continue to press for an economic recovery plan they say could save the nation as much as $220 billion annually if their boyfriends simply agree to move in with them. Prominent girlfriends from across the country testified before Congress earlier today.
Our plan to dramatically cut expenditures for more than 1.2 million American couples who basically live together anyway, if you look at how much time they spend with each other.
There has been some criticism that you're pushing America's boyfriends, that it's not time for this type of
Congressman
situation.
Ingersoll, this is not even about wanting to live together. Even though a lot of us have been together with our boyfriends from anywhere between a year and 3 years, and everyone who knows us says we're the perfect couple. In a recession, it just doesn't make any sense for two people who say they love each other to pay separate rents.
Joining us now live from Washington is a spokeswoman for the nation's girlfriends, Kelly Ambrose. Welcome, Kelly.
Hello, Andrea.
Now, you and the other girlfriends have been very vocal about this plan in the past few days. Why the sudden push?
Andrea, the slogan of our movement is, "It's time." This plan just makes sense for us financially.
But some boyfriends have said there are other ways to save money, like not going out for expensive dinners and extraneous brunches, or not taking that trip to Vermont to see the leaves change.
Yes, but in our plan, we don't have to make cuts. In fact,
I see.
We could even use some of the money we save on sports things or whatever boyfriends want.
Oh, well, but isn't there...
And our plan will also encourage consumer spending, since having new apartments would spur an anticipated 45% increase in dinner parties, cocktail parties, maybe even a Halloween party with fun drinks that have Halloween-related names.
Now, some boyfriends have been dragging their feet on this issue.
That's right. Do the nation's boyfriends want to sit there just watching our national debt grow and grow while their stupid roommate Chad hangs out in the living room playing video games 24 hours a day?
Sure.
So the boyfriend can never watch a movie, even if his girlfriend brings over a DVD that she has rented.
Okay, well, we have a boyfriend representative, Jake Larson, here with us to help provide another perspective on this issue.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you. Hi, Kels.
Hi, honey.
Now, Jake, you're familiar with the girlfriend's plan, correct?
Yes, I've been briefed on it several times, and it's our contention that things are fine. This doesn't have to be a big deal.
But you have stated that the plan could, quote, tie the nation's boyfriends into long-term living arrangements that could inhibit future independence.
Right.
Inhibit? Do you mean like smothering? Is that how you think of this plan?
No, I never used that word.
But you did imply it.
It was in your tone, Jake.
Look, I really don't want to argue about this.
Okay, we're not arguing, Jake. We're just talking.
Well, can we discuss this another time, like tomorrow?
What's going to change between now and
Why
tomorrow?
Why would we talk about this tomorrow? We're already talking about this now.
Jake, if there's some reason you're opposed to this plan, you can say so, and nobody will be mad.
But, I just feel like it's too soon.
Okay, fine then. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Later in the hour, we'll talk to the nation's mothers about what this plan means for the possibility of them ever having grandchildren. Moving on, a study finds that most Americans' retirement plans consist of finding a briefcase of money.
Will there be any provisions made for game days during football season?
Yes, the girlfriends love football, and they can make snacks and dips and cookies for all the guys. It'll be fun.
Now, some of this research dates back to August 2006. Why had you begun planning a move the very same year many of the girls met their boyfriends?
That research was preliminary. It never hurts to be prepared.
But what about when John moved in with Tara, and then she dumped him, and he had to find a roommate on Craigslist?
That was a highly unusual situation, Congressman. Yes, Tara is my friend, but you know how she is.
And what is this about a waffle maker?
Come on, representatives of Congress. It is vital that you do something to incentivize the boyfriends to see that this is right for the nation. Because it is.
And what if the nation's economy turns around? Would we then consider having two places again?
Are you implying that the boyfriends would want to move out? Why would they want to do that when things are great and we are trying so hard to make them happy?
Just absolute genius. Right, so, and that reminded me of something. So I'm gonna just give me a second. I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I'm gonna find it, and then I'm gonna play it. I played it before when it when it first came out. You see, I don't know. I've not seen what the Onion might be doing more recently, because I think now that with Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, it seems like it's not parody. So I'm going to play the whole thing if I can find it. Let's see, where is it? Senator, okay. I haven't laughed so much as when I watched this. So I'm trying to find it. Just sorry. Oh, I wonder if it's been pulled. I only found the short version. What the heck? Got it. What you're about to see is real. It really happened in the real world. It's not the Onion news. Okay. Some of you might have seen it before when I showed it the first time. I'm going to show this, and this will be my parting gift, if you want to see it that way. Some of you might want to see it as a riposte. Okay. Again, what I'm about to show is not the Onion news. It's the real world. So please watch.
Senator from Utah. Mr. President, fear has become an all too prevalent quality in American political discourse. And unfortunately, fear is unavoidable when debating the substance of the resolution before this body today. That is climate change, socialism, and the Green New Deal. On entering this debate, I have a little fear in my heart as well. But Mr. President, my fear at this moment may be just a little different than that of some of my colleagues. Unlike some of my colleagues, I'm not immediately afraid of what carbon emissions unaddressed might do to our environment in the near-term future, or our civilization, or our planet in the next few years. Unlike others, I'm not immediately afraid of what the Green New Deal would do to our economy and our government. After all, this isn't going to pass. Not today, not anytime soon, certainly. Rather, after reading the Green New Deal, I'm mostly afraid of not being able to get through this speech with a straight face. For Mr. President, I rise today to consider the Green New Deal with the seriousness it deserves. This is, of course, a picture of former President Ronald Reagan naturally firing a machine gun while riding on the back of a dinosaur. You'll notice a couple of important features here. First of all, the rocket launcher strapped to President Reagan's back, and then the stirring, unmistakable patriotism of the Velociraptor holding up a tattered American flag, a symbol of all it means to be an American. Now, critics might quibble with this depiction of the climactic battle of the Cold War, because while awesome, in real life, there was no climactic battle. There was no battle with or without velociraptors. The Cold War, as we all know, was won without firing a shot. But that quibble actually serves our purposes here today, Mr. President, because this image has as much to do with overcoming communism in the 20th century as the Green New Deal has to do with overcoming climate change in the 21st. The aspirations of the proposal have been called radical. They've been called extreme. But mostly, they're ridiculous. There isn't a single serious idea here, not one. To illustrate, let me highlight two of the most prominent goals produced by the plan's authors. Goal number one, the Green New Deal calls essentially for the elimination of airplanes. Now, this might seem merely ambitious for politicians who represent the densely populated northeastern United States. But how is it supposed to work for our fellow citizens who don't live somewhere between Washington, D.C. and Boston? In a future without air travel, how are we supposed to get around the vast expanses of, say, Alaska during the winter? Well, I'll tell you how. Tauntauns, Mr. President. This is a beloved species of repto-mammals, native to the ice planet of Hoth. Now, while perhaps not as efficient in some ways as airplanes or as snowmobiles, these hairy bipedal species of space lizards offer their own unique benefits. Not only are tauntauns carbon neutral, but according to a report a long time ago and issued far, far away, they may even be fully recyclable and usable for their warmth, especially on a cold night. What about Hawaii? Isolated 2,000 miles out into the Pacific Ocean. Under the Green New Deal's effective airplane prohibition, how are people there supposed to get to and from the mainland? And how are they supposed to maintain that significant portion of their economy that's based on tourism? At that distance, swimming would, of course, be out of the question. And jet skis are notorious gas guzzlers. No, all residents of Hawaii would be left with is this. This is a picture of Aquaman, a superhero from the undersea kingdom of Atlantis, and, but notably here, a founding member of the Super Friends. I draw your attention, Mr. President, to the 20-foot impressive seahorse he's riding. Under the Green New Deal, this is probably Hawaii's best bet. Now, I'm the first to admit that a massive fleet of giant, highly trained seahorses would be cool. It would be really, really awesome. But we have to consider a few things. We have no idea about scalability or domestic capacity in this sector. The last thing we want is to ban all airplanes and only then find out that China or Russia may have already established strategic hippocampus programs designed to cut the United States out of the global market. Mr. President, we must not allow and cannot tolerate a giant seahorse gap. Goal number two. The Green New Deal anticipates the elimination of all cows. Talking points released by the sponsors of the resolution the day it was introduced cited the goal of, quote, fully getting rid of, and I'll paraphrase a little bit here, flatulating cows. Now, Mr. President, I share their concern. But honestly, I think you've got to remember that if they think the cows smell bad, just wait till they get a whiff of the seahorses. But back to the cattle. I've got a chart to illustrate this trend. As you can see, Mr. President, on the left, these little cows represent the bovine population of America today. On the right is the future population under the Green New Deal. We would go from about 94 million cows to 0 cows. No more milk, no more cheese, no more steak, no more hamburgers. Over the state work period last week, I visited some farms to find out for myself what Utah's own bovine community might think of the Green New Deal. Every cow I spoke to said the same thing. Boo. The authors of this proposal will protest that these goals are not actually part of the Green New Deal, but were merely included in supporting documents, accidentally sent out by the office of the lead sponsor in the House of Representatives. But, Mr. President, this only makes my point. The supporters of the Green New Deal want Americans to trust them, to reorganize our entire society, our entire economy, to restructure our very way of life, when they couldn't even figure out how to send out the right press release. The Green New Deal is not a serious policy document because it's not a policy document at all. It is, in fact, an aesthetic one. The resolution is not an agenda of solutions. It's a token of elite tribal identity, and endorsing it a public act of piety for the chic and woke. And on those embarrassing terms, it is already a resounding success. As Speaker Pelosi herself put it, quote, the green dream, or whatever they call it, nobody knows what it is, but they're for it, right? Right. Critics will no doubt chastise me for not taking climate change seriously. But please, Mr. President, nothing could be further from the truth. No Utahn needs to hear pious lectures about the gravity of climate change from politicians from other states. For it was only in 2016, as viewers of the Sci-Fi Network will well remember, when climate change hit home in Utah, when our own state was struck not simply by a tornado, Mr. President, but by a tornado with sharks in it. These images are from the indispensable documentary film, Sharknado 4. They captured the precise moment when one of the tornado sharks crashed through the window of Utah's governor, Governor Gary Herbert. A true Utah hero and a fine American, Governor Herbert, who, by the way, is an incredible athlete and an expert tennis player. Governor Herbert bravely fought the animal off with the tennis racket that he keeps by his desk, precisely for occasions such as this. So let's be really clear, Mr. President. Climate change is no joke, but the Green New Deal is a joke. It is the legislative equivalent of Austin Powers' Dr. Evil, demanding sharks with frickin' lasers on their heads. The Green New Deal is not the solution to climate change. It's not even part of the solution. In fact, it's part of the problem. The solution to climate change won't be found in political posturing or virtue signaling like this. It won't be found in the federal government at all. You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. Mr. President, this is the real solution to climate change. Babies. Climate change is an engineering problem. Not social engineering, but the real kind. It's a challenge of creativity, ingenuity, and most of all, technological innovation. The problems of human imagination are not solved by more laws. They're solved by more humans. More people mean bigger markets for more innovation. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote on this very point addressing this very topic, quote, by having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change, close quote. Finally, Mr. President, children are a mark of the kind of personal, communal, and societal optimism that is the true prerequisite for meeting national and global challenges together. The courage needed to solve climate change is nothing compared with the courage needed to start a family. The true heroes of this story aren't politicians, and they aren't social media activists. They are moms and dads The little boys and girls that they are at this very moment putting down for naps or helping with their homework, building tree houses and teaching them how to tie their shoes. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to climate change is not this unserious resolution that we're considering this week in the Senate, but rather the serious business of human flourishing. The solution to so many of our problems at all times and in all places is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Okay, so that was comedy gold. Right, let me close this. Let me stop screen sharing. Did I stop? Yes, okay. Rock Lover writes, Antonio, climate change is a rich man's trick. No, it isn't. No. Climate change, the thing we call climate change, which really means huge disturbance to the climate, is caused by the Earth and the sun and the fields between them in the real world. That really happens, that really is happening, and that is going to get worse. The rich man's trick is claiming that it's caused by humans, and therefore they can make lots of money by claiming that it's caused by humans and putting things in, strategies in place, because humans will see it and somebody has to do something about it. Sure, I'll do something about it and I'll make lots of money. So they make the lots of money, but it still goes on, and they say, hey, I tried. It's going to happen anyway. It happened before. It's a cycle. It's a continuous cycle. It's like the tide. It's just in a bigger cycle, but it is a real thing. Let me see. Evening all, glad to catch you. Chrissy Lynn, hi. Missed quite a little welcome home present after a slow, annoying day. I hope you can let go of the slow, annoying day. Plant-based diet killed in under a minute. I don't doubt it. It was a real, what the senator was doing, he was actually responding to a real proposal. Now, what happened was that proposal was submitted by Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and her team. Because it was immediately ridiculed, I mean, just the first few pages, the people are like, is this for real? Because that's how it was received, they sent out a press release saying, oh, no, that wasn't what we meant to release. That was preliminary stuff. They didn't say, what we meant to release is this. Here's this tight thing that doesn't have phrases like fully getting rid of cows. Like fully getting rid, not like getting rid of. No, that's not good enough. Fully getting rid of, that makes it clear. So words like that, that's the product of very poor education and very good brainwashing. That half-wits, this is why I say, I don't know if the Onion are even around still, because with people like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, being real people in the real world is going to be, I can't believe this is the world. People are going to watch the Onion news and think it's really real. You know, recently, this clown shoe, which for some reason made an argument for why they should get a pay rise. The argument was this: if you don't give us a pay rise, then some people are going to find loopholes on how to cheat the system to get more money. At least if you give us a pay rise, we'll just have more money. Not, we'll be able to close those loopholes so nobody uses them. No. Like, that was the excuse when asked. That was it. Well, some people are going to cheat the system. It's like, you're saying to give you and people like you more money in case some of the people like you cheat the system? Well, what's stopping you from cheating the system after you've received more money too? Oh, it's just so retarded. It's like globe thinking. It is like globe thinking. The guy with the sun, with the Mike Ball example, which I've used with my globing friends, and they're like, no, don't get it. No, the center of the sun is very big. It's wider than the earth. Like, I don't understand geometry. They draw it, and they refuse to draw it. So Mike Ball is explaining you can't have this in the real world, even factoring in refraction, this half degree that the sun is visible before it's actually visible geometrically. Even that doesn't help you, because the moon's there too. Even that doesn't help you. You can't have the sun and the moon aligned. By the way, they're aligned horizontally, not one in front of the other. That would be like an eclipse. They're aligned horizontally. You can't have that on your globe. It's not possible. Like, the real world geometry says it isn't actually possible. Even if you bend the rays, it's not possible, because you'd have to be bending the rays for the moon a certain amount and bending the rays for the sun a certain different amount to the rays of the moon bending. So the moon would have to raise this much to appear in line with the sun, which only raised this much. It's just not doable. And it's globe thinking. The way that half-wit globing got round it was by saying, no, look, see, horizontal line, there's the sun. It's like, the argument is, you can't have the center of the sun and the center of the moon for two observers on opposite sides of the globe at the same time. Not, nobody can see the sun rising in the dawn. That was not the argument. The argument was two observers, a bit like QMFI did with the routers, where he just got rid of the problematic one and replaced his retarded sun with a router. Both seeing the sun and the moon at the same time, not possible. The distance between one side of the globe Earth and the other side of the globe Earth means that the lines being parallel have a space before the moon. There's distance. Like geometry in the real world means distance between things. But somehow the moon is here, and the sun is there and is there. No, that's not how geometry works. The heck is wrong with you? Draw it out. And this is why they don't. When they model the eclipse, by the way, I watched somebody modeling the eclipse, the 21st of December, 21st of August eclipse. I saw somebody modeling 15 degrees here, half a degree there. 15 degrees here, half a degree there. Where's your sun? Oh, 10 meters away. Oh, hold on a second. What are you doing with the sun 10 meters away? It shouldn't be 10 meters away if this is the distance between your Earth and your moon. Your Earth and your moon are 1 meter away. The sun is not 10 meters away if that's the setup. And in his actual explanation, he has the shadow of the moon being about 500 miles wide. And it was supposed to show that it's possible. It's like, God, you really don't get it. You don't understand what you're trying to explain. Yeah, anyway, there you go. So I hope everybody shared emails. They wanted to share emails. Good to see you, Danny Diesel, and everybody else. Gary Waybenger, did you know the moon Analima looks like the sun Analima? Yes, Gary Waybenger and all other flat earthers. Don't be fooled into thinking that the sun and moon Analima mean something that the globe explains and that you can translate into the flat earth. You have to remember this. The moon Analima and the sun Analima, the crucial thing to get that shape is same time of day. That's a crucial thing. Think about it. When you see that figure of 8 in the sky, okay? The time of day is not solar noon. Did you hear? The time of day is not solar noon. If it was solar noon, it would be the point that's furthest south or furthest north, depending on your location. And it would just be up and down for both the sun and the moon. if it was the highest point in the sky, if it was the southernmost or northernmost point for the moon or the sun, it would be just up and down. With the moon, they shift, and instead of using same time of day, they use a slightly different way of looking at it. So really, think about it. The analema is based on the same time, it's chronological time. 24 hours from the day before. It's like, wait a second, between the solar noon now and the same solar noon the day after, there's a couple of minutes difference. If you don't wait until solar noon, but you take it a couple of minutes before, it's in a slightly different location. And that's how you end up with the analema. If you were working from only solar noon and the same with the moon, you end up with just up and down, but it doesn't help the globe. Yeah, I hope you understood that. In fact, I hope you just look. They say the highest point in the sky. It's like, highest point in the sky has to be solar noon. No orientation argument here. It has to be solar noon, the highest point in the sky. There can't be highest point in the sky half an hour before solar noon. Like, no. Highest point of the sky, solar noon. If you do it at the highest point of the sky, which is real time, then it's just vertical, up and down. From December to June, up and down. And with the moon, similar, just slightly different because of the time difference. But that's all it is. Who's writing what? Let's see. Oh, it jumped. The thing is, almost everything you look at shows the Earth model flawed. Yes, a simple Earth orbit, the sun model is flawed. It requires the sun to have two arcs, southward and northward. It's just the sun is a holoprismatic layer within the field that we call day. The field that we call day is caused by a charge. Be that charge an electrical charge, it doesn't matter. If you look at the spectrum of electricity and magnetism, you go through all the various frequencies, including all of the light frequencies. The day is light. So this is what we have. We have this thing that physics have separated into various different small brackets of a full spectrum and said, here's the infrared spectrum, and here's that. It's like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? The whole thing is the same circle. The whole thing, from the smallest infrared to the widest ultraviolet, it doesn't, all of it and all of the other frequencies, all the same circle. But they can't do that, because if they do that, they end up describing the Earth as a flat thing over which this field rotates, and they can't explain this field being there in the first place. They can't explain it, so they make it into a ball and say the ball is just unconsciously just rotating, just because that's what nature does, right? No, well, not really, but yeah, ball just through space rotating off vertical, because something hit it and made it stop, go like that, and then just stop. If it's rotating like this with no frictions that's stopping it from rotating, then, and something hit it and it made it start going like this, why didn't it just carry on going like this? Oh, no, because it didn't. Okay, you're just talking nonsense, aren't you? Yes, they are. That's what the globelings are doing. They're talking nonsense. And the geocentrists, same thing. You can't explain any of this, and you can't explain freaking gyroscopes, for God's sake. So they go, right, guys, that's it. I'm bailing. I've enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed it too. I might see you again if these are still doable. And if not, it's been great. Bye.